Chapter 9:15. Allure 2. I will do my best. Patriarch, don't worry, the sixth elder promised. Then, he brought a few elders directly to the Fan family's divine realm, Yichun and Jingyin's residence. At this moment, the two of them were sitting facing each other in the room. How much more herbs do you need to cure the one family? Yichun asked curiously. A lot more. There are too many people in the one family who have been poisoned, Zhengyin said calmly. Sigh. How pitiful. Yichun said with apparent sympathy. That's right. Poor thing. Zhang Yin's face was filled with sympathy, but he was actually overjoyed in his heart. He had secretly taken a lot of the one family's herbs. Commander Yi, when are we leaving? If we treat everyone in the one family, it will be even harder to save Miss, Zhang Yin whispered again. It won't be easy to bring Shuer out even if we can't cure her. Don't forget that that person is still here. Yichun said gloomily. The person he was referring to was naturally the person who had captured Shuer. Alas, with his current strength, he was unable to take her away from that person. Then what should we do? We can't stay in the one family forever, right? Zhang Yin was a little worried when he thought of that powerful man. When the time comes, we'll find an opportunity, Yichun said. Shuer wasn't far away now, so he could afford to wait. Yes, that's the only way. I wonder how Fengda and the others are doing now? Zhang Yin said worriedly. They're fine, don't worry, Yichun said with a chuckle. Those guys were all smart. Yes. Zhang Yin nodded. Suddenly the head butler's voice sounded in their ears. Excellency Ursha, the head butler called and knocked on the door. Head butler, are you here to deliver herbs to me? Zhang Yin opened the door and said happily. He had been waiting for a few days. Excellency Ursha, I'm really sorry. I still have to wait a few days. The herbs I bought from outside were all robbed by the Fan family, the butler said angrily. Even though the one family and the Fan family's juniors often quarreled, it had always been a small conflict. The higher-ups of the two families rarely really fell out. Therefore, even though he was angry, he could not do anything to the Fan family. How did this happen? Zhang Yin looked puzzled. The Fan family has always liked to cause trouble for our one family, so the juniors of the two families often argue, and it's the same this time. The head butler explained simply. He naturally couldn't tell outsiders about the one family's secret. I understand. Moreover, I'm not in a hurry. However, your one family can't afford to delay it. I took a look yesterday. The poison seems to be getting deeper and deeper. If this continues, they won't need to use the antidote anymore. Zhang Yin sighed. Excellency Ursha, what do you mean? The head butler was stunned and very puzzled. Thanks, head butler. Don't you understand? Zhang Yin said helplessly. Please enlighten me, the head butler said foolishly. He really didn't understand. If we delay too long, those people won't need to be treated anymore because they're already dead, Zhang Yin explained. Can this poison really kill people? The head butler was shocked and said in disbelief. Other than being in pain when the poison acted up, the people who were poisoned usually did not feel much discomfort. How could someone die? He could not believe it. I wouldn't have, but you guys dragged it out too long, Zheng Yin said in fear. How long do they have to live? The head butler asked, his face pale. It's hard to say. In short, the sooner you take the antidote, the better. Therefore, head butler, you have to work hard to buy herbs. Of course, if the one family doesn't want to save them, you can tell me in advance and pay me the remuneration so that I can leave immediately, Zheng Yin said. Excellency Ursha, I'll try my best to purchase herbs. Don't worry, I'll take my leave first. After hearing this news, the butler didn't dare to delay for a moment and hurriedly left. After the head butler left, Yichun stared at Zheng Yin with his starry eyes, but he didn't say anything. I was just scaring him, Zhang said softly, then lowered his head, not daring to look Yichun in the eye. Yichun chuckled. Then he stood up and said, They'll take a walk outside. Okay. Zheng Yin heaved a sigh of relief. However, he did not believe that this cunning commander Yi would just go out for a walk. He probably went to see his Mississippi. Just as Zheng Yin had guessed, Yichun had indeed gone to see Shuer. He and Shuer didn't dare to see each other every day. It was fine to meet occasionally and chat for a while. After all, the two of them were neighbors now. After Yichen arrived at the courtyard where Shuera lived, he saw Shuera lying on a recliner and basking in the sun. He sat down on the stone bench beside Shuera. "Elder brother Dasha, you're here," Long Ruashua said calmly, but her beautiful eyes were like burning flames, releasing a passion that only Yichen could understand. "Well, little sister Shuera stays in the courtyard every day. Aren't you tired of it?" Yichen asked deliberately. "I can't help it. I'm considered a prisoner of the One family. How would I dare to wander around the One family casually? The last time I went out, something happened to the One family, and they even blamed it on me." Sigh. Long Ruashua said bitterly, her beautiful eyes faintly sparkling. "Did someone malign little sister Shuera? That person is really too evil. Even if they can't find the culprit, they can't just frame anyone." Yichun said angrily. "Sigh. There's no choice. He's too strong. So of course he'll do whatever he says. How can a weak group like me dare to argue with others?" Long Ruashua said indifferently. "Little girl, are you blaming me?" Their conversation finally attracted a familiar voice. Yichun and Long Ruashua smiled at each other when they heard this voice. Then, Long Ruashua said in an extremely resentful tone, "How would I dare?" "Don't dare? Humph. Aren't you talking bad about me to this ugly freak now?" The man said angrily. In fact, he had been observing Long Ruashua almost every day for a while recently, so he naturally knew that she had some contact with this ugly freak. After hearing the two of them seem to be talking about him today, he was a little uneasy. He, who had not spoken for many days, finally couldn't take it anymore and spoke. Chapter 916. A lure. 3. We didn't. Long Ruashua denied. "I'm not deaf," the man snapped. "I can't beat you. Whatever you say." Long Ruashua seemed to have given up arguing. The man was a little unaccustomed to Long Ruakshua's sudden change. Well, he still preferred that little girl who dared to resist him. This seemingly lifeless Long Ruashua made him unable to raise his spirits. Alas, how could this be? "I want to be alone," Long Ruashua said lightly. In other words, she meant that he should leave quickly. In fact, she and the freak deliberately lured this man out today to see if he was still staring at her. It turned out to be true. "Then why is this ugly freak here?" the man roared unhappily. "He won't disturb me, let alone bully me." Long Ruashua rolled her eyes at the void and said matter-of-factly, "You." The man was furious. This little girl was clearly saying that he had bullied her. Even though he seemed to have bullied her, he was also doing it for his disciple. Thinking of this, for some reason, he actually felt a little guilty. "Little girl, have you forgotten your man so quickly?" The man sighed and pretended to be calm. "That disciple of yours isn't my man," Long Ruashua said angrily. "I wasn't talking about him," the man said, exasperated. "Who is that?" Long Ruashua pretended to be stupid. "Little girl, don't you have a fiancé? Don't think I don't know," the man roared. "Yes." Long Ruashua was quite calm. "Don't tell me you've forgotten him," the man said with mild suspicion. "Whether I forgot him or not doesn't seem to have anything to do with you, right?" Long Ruashua was very speechless. She thought to herself, could this man be mentally unstable? He was the one who captured her to give her disciple, and now he was concerned about whether she had forgotten the freak. She really didn't know what he was thinking. "Little girl, since you have a fiancé, how can you be alone with another man?" The man was very unhappy. Well, very unhappy. However, he didn't know what he was angry about. "You still captured me when you know I have a fiancé?" Long Ruashua asked. Now she was sure that this man was definitely mentally unstable because his words were contradictory. The man was speechless. He paused for half a minute before saying, "I have something," and then there was silence. This lunatic. Long Ruashua couldn't help but curse after the man's voice disappeared. "Little sister Shuera, don't take it to heart," Yichen comforted her. However, he began to suspect that man. Could that man? "Yes, I want." Long Ruashua nodded. Then, the two of them looked at each other from afar without saying anything. Even though the freak had changed his appearance and looked very ugly now, she still found him pleasing to the eye. Hee. Thanks, Sister Schwer. They'll be shy if you look at me like that. After a long time, Yi Chun was defeated. His little heart was beating nervously. Hee. Lung Ruoshues smiled evilly, but her beautiful eyes were still fixed on the freak. She prayed in her heart, "Hurry up and show me your bashfulness. Sister Schwer, they'll take my leave first. They'll come and see you when I have time." Yi Chun was frightened by Schwer's gaze and hurriedly fled. Boo-hoo. Evil Schwer was really too much of a bully. She knew that he couldn't do anything now, but she still looked at him so intently, making his heart flutter. Haha. Long Ruoshue couldn't help but chuckle as she watched the freak escape like his butt was on fire. Her freak was getting cuter and cuter. Yi Chun fled back to his quarters, ducking straight into his room. Then, gasping for breath, what's wrong with you?" Zheng En, who was sitting in the room, asked curiously when he saw Yi Chun's strange expression. At the same time, he couldn't help but wonder if Miss had taken advantage of him. However, they were in the one family now, so it didn't seem convenient for Miss to do that. "I've decided," Yi Chun said without preamble, calming down. "Decided what?" Zheng En was a little puzzled. "I've decided to speed up my plan and get Schwer out of here quickly," Yi Chun said. Boo-hoo. He wouldn't be able to take it if this continued, so he had to lure the tiger away as soon as possible. "Oh." Zheng En nodded in support. Even though he did not know what Commander Yes' plan was, he knew that any plan was to save Mississippi. "Zheng En, we might leave at any time. So you can go and ask the one family for payment," Yi Chun reminded. "Yes, they'll go now. If they don't give it to me, they'll go on strike," Zheng En said as he stood up and left the room. After Zheng En left his residence, he went straight to the head of the one family and asked him to pay in advance. In the main hall of the one family, the head of the one family looked at Zheng En, who was sitting on the chair, and felt a headache coming on. Sigh. The one family was in a trouble period now, but second fool Zheng actually came to ask him to pay the remuneration at this time. Sigh. What was going on? Could it be that the dignified one family would renege on their debt? "Excellency Ursha, the poison in our one family hasn't been completely cured. Don't be anxious," the head of the one family reminded. His meaning was clearly that he would pay you after the poison was cured. "I know, but I'm also in a hurry, so I'll ask Patriarch One to pay me now," Zheng En said without hesitation. "Excellency Ursha, I can't give you the money now." The Patriarch had no choice but to be straightforward. "You're not giving it to me, are you? If you don't, they'll go on strike," Zheng En threatened. The head of the one family was so angry that he couldn't speak. After a while, he said helplessly, "Excellency Ursha, our one family won't go back on our word. Why are you in a hurry? I'm afraid that you won't have the money to pay me after the poison in your one family is cured. Therefore, I'm worried." "I want work for no reason," Zheng En said honestly, and his words also poked the Patriarch's sore spot. Chapter 917. A Lure. 4. Excellency Ursha, I guarantee on my honor that I won't go back on my word. Will that do? The Patriarch's frown deepened and his expression darkened. However, he still had to coax this Ursha nicely. Sigh. Who asked this Ursha to cure the poison in his one family? "SK, how much is it worth? Can it help me cultivate? I want money and crystals." Zheng En did not compromise. In any case, he was confident. Moreover, he believed that the head of the one family would definitely give him money unless the one family really did not intend to save the other clansmen. "Patriarch One, you'd better pay me within 3 days. Otherwise, they'll really go on strike," Zheng En reminded him very cautiously. After saying that, he patted his butt and left the main hall, leaving the Patriarch One sitting alone in the main seat, fuming. After the sixth elder and the others returned from the Fan family's divine realm, they saw the family head sitting on the main seat with a dark expression. They did not understand and were all a little uneasy. They could not help but guess in their hearts. Could it be that the family head was angry because of the Fan family? "Patriarch, we're back," the sixth elder said helplessly when he saw the elders winking at him. "Yes," the head of the one family replied calmly. "Patriarch, the Fan family is famous for being unreasonable. You really don't have to be angry with them," sixth elder comforted. "I'm not angry with them. By the way, Did you find those herbs when you went to the Fan family? The patriarch pretended to be calm and asked. Patriarch, Fan Rue refused to admit that he had done this. So we didn't find the herbs, the sixth elder said gloomily. Sigh. He really didn't expect that Fan Rue would still dare to renege on the evidence. How outrageous. What did the Fan family say? Patriarch one continued to ask. In fact, he had expected this. The Fan family promised to help us gather the same herbs in 3 days. However, we have to pay at least half of the money, said the sixth elder. Although he was angry, he was also helpless about this outcome. Sigh. He couldn't fight with the Fan family over this matter. That's the only thing we can do now. Let's remember this debt for the Fan family. We'll get back at them when we have the chance in the future. The patriarch thought for a moment and said, the most important thing now was to obtain the herbs, so everything else could be postponed. However, there was one thing that was a little troublesome. That idiot Zheng wants us to pay him. Otherwise, he will go on strike. The patriarch sighed and said, What? The sixth elder was also a little surprised when he heard the family head's words. It had to be known that the reward their one family had promised to give Zheng Ersha was not a small sum. Furthermore, their one family was currently in need of money, so this was really a headache. Could it be that the family head's face was dark because of this matter? Thinking of this, the sixth elder could not help but ask carefully, Patriarch, are you angry because of this? The patriarch scratched his head and said helplessly, That's right. Even though the one family has a deep foundation, there aren't many funds that can be transferred. You should know this, right? And recently, we've spent a lot of money buying herbs. Therefore, if we pay Zheng Ersha now, I'm afraid we'll be even more tight on money. Sigh. That's right. Why don't we send someone to have a good talk with him? Our one family is big and powerful. We won't go back on our word. The sixth elder probed. Thanks, it's useless. That fool is very stubborn. He made it very clear that he was afraid that we would have no money to pay him if we bought all the herbs. That's why he asked us to pay first. In addition, he wants us to hand over the money to him in 3 days. The one family head's face was filled with worry. Patriarch, why don't we give him the money first? Otherwise, if he really goes on strike, our clansmen will be hopeless. The sixth elder was very worried. Sigh. That's the only way. The patriarch was at his wit's end. He was also afraid that Ersha would really go on strike. On the 3rd day, the one family sent the herbs and the payment to Jing Yin, Yichun, and Jing Yin's residence. In the room, Zhang Enqing tapped the crystal in the ring and frowned. Then, he said unhappily, Butler, this reward isn't right. Well, since Excellency Ayers' work isn't finished yet, we can only pay you part of the payment. When you've finished all the work, the rest will naturally be paid to you. We won't renege on the payment. Don't worry, the head butler said carefully, wiping the cold sweat from his forehead. Of course, he had thought of this himself. In fact, he was to be paid in full, but he had been robbed on the way here. Oh, since this is only the remuneration for the initial work, I won't do the rest. Zhang Yin smiled faintly and said disapprovingly, The one family was really too insincere. In that case, don't blame him for being too ruthless. Excellency Ersha, you can't do this. The head butler panicked when he heard this. If the family head found out about this, he wouldn't let him off. Boo-hoo. What should he do? You forced me to do this, Zhang Yin said angrily, who didn't know how to be unreasonable. Excellency Ersha, we can discuss things. Please don't go on strike. The head butler hurriedly said, It's too late. I'm angry now. I don't want to see you again. After Zhang Yin finished speaking, he raised his leg and kicked the butler ruthlessly. There was a loud thud as the butler flew out of the room and across the courtyard wall. Yet another loud thud was heard as he fell somewhere. Yichun and Zhang Yin naturally didn't care about the whereabouts of the head butler. After kicking him away, the two of them acted as if nothing had happened and went about their business. In the main hall of the one family, the patriarch sat at the head of the table, while the elders sat below him. At this moment, they looked at the wet head butler with very strange gazes. They were even more puzzled. Didn't the head butler go to deliver money and medicinal herbs to Zheng Ersha? Why did he look like this? Could it be that the butler had slacked off and went swimming? Patriarch, the head butler cried out before kneeling on the ground and wailed. Chapter 9:18. Allure 5. Why are you crying? The patriarch could not stand it anymore. He was very annoyed now. He hated seeing others cry, especially when it was an old man's tears. I, the head butler hesitated, finding it difficult to speak. If you have something to say, just say it. You're stuttering like a woman. The patriarch was losing his patience. I went to deliver money and herbs to Ursha just now, but the head butler still didn't dare to say anything, so he couldn't continue. Did he bully you? The patriarch frowned, looking a little unhappy. No, I met the matriarch on the way. She took a portion of the payment for young Ursha, so he was very angry and kicked me out. The head butler mustered his courage and said, Damn it, what does this incompetent old woman want? And you're a dead person. You'll give it to her just because she wants it? After scolding his old hag, the patriarch started scolding the butler. Patriarch, she's the matriarch. Do you think I would dare to refuse her? The head butler said aggrievely. He was very aggrieved, and he couldn't help but feel uneasy. You can't even control your own wife, and you only know how to scold innocent people like us. What kind of ability is that? Butler, tell the matriarch to return the money she took. Otherwise, they'll divorce her. The patriarch said ruthlessly. Patriarch, it's not appropriate for me to convey that. The butler said awkwardly. He really did not want to get involved. Please keep reading on Wuxia World. Cite Patriarch, it is indeed inappropriate for the head butler to convey that. The sixth elder said helplessly. Then I'll go tell her myself. Sixth elder, go and talk to young Ursha. The patriarch calmed down a little and took a deep breath. Patriarch, go find the matriarch first. They'll look for young Ursha after I have the results. The sixth elder said very implicitly. Sigh. He couldn't go empty-handed. Otherwise, he would end up like the head butler. That's the only way, the patriarch said helplessly. Then, he stood up and left the main hall. The next day, the sixth elder specially brought a few elders to look for Zhang. Moreover, they conveyed the patriarch's intentions and asked Jing'an to stay for a few days. They would definitely pay the rest of the money. Zhang had also told them very clearly that he would give them a week at most. If they did not see any other remuneration after a week, he would leave the one family. The sixth elder agreed readily and promised to gather the money within a week. After Zhang sent the sixth elder and the others away, he pestered Yichun and asked, Are we sure we'll leave within the week? Zhang asked quietly, staring at Yichun with shining eyes. Yichun was the one who had asked him to give the one family a week to talk. Yes, I've arranged everything. However, in order not to arouse the one family's suspicions, they'll find a way to send Schwer out first. We'll leave a few days later, Yichun explained. After all, with their current strength, it was unwise to openly make an enemy of the one, so they would have to outwit them. Yes, but what about that person? It will be difficult to hide from him, right? Zhang said worriedly. Don't worry, Yichun said confidently. The man will be out of here in less than 2 days. Hee, that's great, Zhang said happily. It had been a few days since he came to the one family. They did not dare to leave this place to see Fengda and the others, afraid that it would bring them trouble. Now, they could finally leave. As they were talking, the small black phoenix flew through the window again. Seeing this, Zhang tactfully left the room. The little black phoenix circled Yichun a few times, then chirped softly and flew away. After the little phoenix left, Yichun's lips curled into a smile. Hee, the gods are on my side. The news the little phoenix brought is wonderful for them. Thanks, that was because the little phoenix had just told him that Yu and Schwer's beasts had all come out of seclusion. With Yu out of seclusion, Schwer's sealed mystic energy could be unsealed, and with Dazzle out of seclusion, there was a higher chance that Schwer would leave. However, he did not expect the man to undo Schwer's sealed mystic energy before he left. This made him secretly vigilant. 2 days later, the man received a message from his patriarch asking him to return quickly. He said that it was important, so he left Divine Continent in a hurry. Late that night, Long Ruoxue asked Dazzle to cast an invisibility spell on her and the freak. Then, the two of them swaggered out of the One Family mansion. After sending Schwer to Fengda and the others, Yichen immediately brought Dazzle back to the One Family. After all, they still had to stay in the One Family for a few days. Long Ruoxue's disappearance did not cause much of a stir in the One Family because they were all focused on detoxifying their clansmen. Long Ruoxue was dispensable to them to begin with. Moreover, she was brought back by the old ancestor. Now that the old ancestor had left, it was natural for him to take her away, so they were very calm. Long Ruoxue returned to Fengda and the others. Everyone was very happy, but because they were in the One Family's divine realm, they could not show too much excitement. At the temporary residence of Long Ruoxue and the others, the door was closed. Everyone was gathered in the courtyard, staring at her intently. Have you seen enough? Long Ruoxue felt everyone's burning gazes with their pupils dilated. Miss, we've decided to cultivate diligently. We must protect you well in the future. Fengda was the first to speak. Miss, we missed you so much. Lu Tao and Cui Zhu pounced to Long Ruoxue's side and grabbed her arm tightly. Silly girls, aren't I fine? Don't cry. Long Ruoxue coaxed helplessly. Schwer, I have to cultivate hard too, Lung Ruhan said unhappily. Schwer had been captured, but he could not do anything as her elder brother. Now, he could not help her take revenge. This difference in strength, this sense of powerlessness that he had never felt before, had been gripping his heart since the day Schwer was captured. It made his heart extremely heavy, even though he knew that Schwer would protect him, but he was her elder brother. It was his responsibility to protect his little sister. Big brother. Long Ruoxue's beautiful eyes were filled with tears. She didn't know what to say because she knew that even though she was the one who was captured, the people around her must be even more sad than her. She felt the same helplessness. Grandpa. Long Ruoxue turned her gaze to her silent grandfather and the others. Schwer, it's good that you're back, Lung Qingtian said after a long while. Even though he felt very aggrieved, his precious granddaughter had finally returned to his side. This was better than anything else. He would never allow his granddaughter encounter something like that again unless it was over his dead body. Girl, you've suffered. Old man Zhao said emotionally with tears in his eyes. I'm all right, Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Well, now that she thought about it, other than being injured that time, she really didn't suffer much in the One Family. Sun Tao was forced to cultivate, so even if he wanted to harass her, he couldn't. And the One Family was busy detoxifying their poison. So other than not being able to move freely and not seeing her grandfather, the freak, and the others, she really didn't seem to have anything to nitpick about. Master, we will also cultivate well and protect you. At this moment, Charm, who had been nestled in Long Ruoxue's arms, couldn't help but say. They didn't expect that their master would be captured while they had been in seclusion for a while. Sigh. Fortunately, their master was fine now. Otherwise, they would blame themselves to death. Yes, yes, lovely master. Darling has to protect you well, Darling agreed. For a moment, all the beasts rushed to express their determination to Long Ruoxue, and the entire courtyard became lively. In the next few days, Long Ruoxue stayed in their rented courtyard and waited for the freak to meet her. At the One Family mansion, Yichun and Jing En's residence. At this moment, there were still 2 days before the deadline they had given the One Family. Hee, we can leave in 2 days. That's great. Zhang En's mood improved as the time approached. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't want to make an enemy of the One Family, they would have left long ago. Well, he wondered if they should thank the matriarch of the One Family. If it weren't for the fact that the matriarch had robbed the money that the One Family and was prepared to pay him, he wouldn't know what excuse to leave. Moreover, there were too many people in the One Family, so this matter naturally couldn't be hidden. Chapter 919. The Warm Old Man, 1. Yes, go and urge the One Family. Tell them that if we can't pay them within 2 days, we'll leave. Yichun thought for a moment. Even though he wanted to meet up with Schwerer now, he had to deal with the One Family first. Why? Zhang En was a little puzzled. Actually, he was mainly worried that if he went to tell them and the One Family gathered all his remuneration, The one family would hunt them down all over the divine continent if they secretly left. Therefore, it was best not to remind them. Don't worry, the one family won't be able to afford it, Yuchen said confidently. Unless the one family sold their fixed assets, it would be impossible for them to gather Zheng En's remuneration in a short period of time. However, it was unlikely for the one family to sell their assets now. This was because if he wanted to sell the ancestral property, he had to get the approval of the patriarch. Once the patriarch made such a request, he probably wouldn't be able to continue being the patriarch anymore. Therefore, he wouldn't do such a stupid thing. He'll remind them since you are so confident. Hehe. Zheng En still trusted Yuchen's judgment. With that, he left the room and went straight to look for the head of the one family. Zheng En went to the main hall first, but it was empty. Then, he walked towards the main courtyard. After arriving at the main courtyard, there were no guards at the door, so Zheng En did not stand on ceremony and walked straight in. However, before he approached the main house, he heard the sound of an argument coming from inside. Out of curiosity of a gossip, he pricked up his ears and listened. Then, the smile on his lips deepened. Hehe. Commander Yi had guessed correctly. The patriarch and the matriarch were arguing over crystals. However, they were too focused on their argument, and there was no one guarding outside, so they did not sense anyone eavesdropping. After listening for a while, Zheng En knocked on the door and deliberately said loudly, "Is Patriarch One around? / please keep reading on Wuxia World." Site Oh, it's Excellency Ursha. What's the matter? Patriarch One opened the door and looked at Zheng En outside. He frowned and forced a smile. Patriarch One, what happened to your face? Zheng En looked at the obvious scratches on Patriarch One's face and suppressed his smile. I was accidentally scratched by a cat. The Patriarch said awkwardly. He had opened the door too quickly and forgot about the injury on his face. Cat? Patriarch One, the scratch on your face is too big. It doesn't look like a cat to me. Instead, it looks like a tiger's scratch. Zheng En observed seriously and then said very seriously, I didn't see what it was. That guy slipped away too quickly. I was just guessing. The patriarch blushed and explained helplessly. Oh, sigh. The one family's defense is a little weak now. The tiger can even run away after scratching the patriarch. Patriarch One, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you have to strengthen your defense. If this tiger dares to scratch you today, it might scratch others tomorrow. Therefore, you definitely can't let it go, Zheng En said sincerely. Then, he sighed and patted the head of the one family on the shoulder to express his deep sympathy for him. That's right. Excellency Ursha is right. They'll be more careful in the future. By the way, why are you looking for me? The patriarch had no choice but to change the topic. Otherwise, if he let Excellency Ursha continue, the tigress in the house would probably run out and scratch him. Well, I'm here to tell you that there are still 2 days to the deadline I gave you. If you can't gather the money you owe me in 2 days, then I'm leaving, Zheng En said cooperatively. Thanks, Excellency Ursha. Can you give us a few more days? The patriarch negotiated. Even though he did not think that Excellency Ursha would really leave just like that, he still had to give face to the alchemist. I'm sorry, Patriarch One. I still have other matters to attend to. I spent too much time in the one family and have no choice but to leave, Zheng En said with a troubled expression. What about the poison in my one family? The head of the one family said with a headache. Patriarch One, if you can fork out the money you owe me, I'll continue to refine pills for you. However, if you can't, then don't blame me. Zheng En said with a smile, his attitude extremely good. Hearing Zheng En's words, the patriarch could not catch his breath and almost fainted. Fuck, what was going on? It was clearly a reward, but now it had become money that was owed to him. Was there still justice? Patriarch One, that's all I have to say. Take care. With that, Zheng En turned around and left. Excellency Ursha. The patriarch hurriedly wanted to stop him, but Zheng En did not even turn around. Instead, he hurried on. Before he walked out of the main courtyard, he heard a tigress roar from behind. Let him go. I don't believe that without him, the poison in our one family can't be cured. After that, the patriarch said something else, but Zheng En did not listen carefully. After Zheng Yin returned to his residence, he couldn't help but laugh until he leaned on the table. Yichun was sitting in a chair in the room. When he saw Zheng Yin's appearance, his face was filled with question marks. He couldn't help but wonder if Zheng Yin had been provoked by something. Why was he laughing like this? What are you laughing at? Yichun asked calmly when Zheng was almost done laughing. Zheng Yin calmed down and then described what he had seen and heard when he went to the main house to Yichun. After saying that, he looked at him with anticipation. Hee hee. Funny, right? She's a woman after all. She's already cultivated to the level of a god, but she still likes to scratch in fights. What's so funny? The matriarch of the one family is a tigress. Everyone on Divine Continent knows that, Yichun said nonchalantly. Why didn't I know? Didn't you come to the Divine Continent with me? How do you know this gossip? Zheng Yin's eyes lit up as he asked curiously. You'll find out in the future, Yichun said, keeping him in suspense. Commander Yi, don't be like this. I won't be able to sleep at night with this knowledge. Zheng Yin said with a bitter expression. All the better, you can keep the night watch, Yichun said with very little sympathy. Don't be like this. We've known each other for so long. Zheng Yin tried to get close. Chapter 920. The Warm Old Man, 2. When we went to gather information a while ago, didn't you ask the one family about their character? Yichun asked with a chuckle. Only by knowing a person's character could one make plans that varied from person to person. Therefore, he basically expected the one family's reaction to the difficult questions they threw out. I did, but I didn't ask about the women, Zheng Yin said sheepishly. He was definitely not as cunning and scheming as Commander Knight, and he had no intention of having any contact with the one women, so he naturally didn't care what they were like. Sometimes an unremarkable person may decide the outcome of a matter, so don't overlook any of your opponents, Yichun reminded him with a faint smile. Why do I feel like you know that matriarch one needs money? Zheng guessed. I do know that. Why else would I ask you to ask for payment at that time? Yichun chuckled. You're really amazing, Zheng Yin said with a look of admiration. In the past, he only admired Miss, but now, he admired Commander Yi again. Well, no wonder Miss always called him a freak. Anyone would definitely fall for his schemes unknowingly. Don't worship me too much. I belong to Schwer, Yichun said very seriously. I know you belong to Mississippi. You don't have to tell me again. Zheng Yin was speechless. Sigh. It was precisely because of this that they often overlooked Commander Yi's strength. Now, it seemed that this freak was doing it on purpose. Good, Yichun said, relieved. He stood up and went to his room. 2 days later, midnight. Seeing that no one from the one family had sent money over, Zheng Yin and Yichun took advantage of the dark and windy night to leave the one family mansion. After Yichun and Zheng Yin left the one family's divine realm, they went straight to the place where they had agreed to meet Schwer. They arranged to meet at an unnamed mountain range. This place was closest to the one family's divine realm and was not under their jurisdiction, so it was relatively safer. At the foot of the nameless mountains, Lung Ruoxue and the others were setting up camp here. Schwer, it's so late. Why aren't you asleep? Lung Qinye couldn't help but ask Lung Ruoxue, who was standing alone in the night. I'm waiting for the freak, Lung Ruoxue said softly. Thanks, they probably won't leave tonight. Lung Qinye guessed. They will. Lung Ruoxue smiled confidently. Lung Qinye didn't understand the freak. Unlike her, she knew that that guy definitely wouldn't leave during daylight. Hee hee. You know me well, Schwer. A slightly smug voice sounded in their ears. Then, a black shadow pounced on Lung Ruoxue and hugged her tightly. When Lung Qinye saw the arrogant Yichun, he shook his head helplessly and tactfully gave them space. He even dragged Zheng Yin along with him when he left, knowing that he wanted to talk to Lung Ruoxue. Schwer, I miss you so much, Yichun said coquettishly when he saw that the light bulb was gone. I miss you too. Lung Ruoxue hugged the freak's body tightly and said with slight relief. Previously, they had been careful in the one family and did not dare to do anything intimate. After she left the one family, the freak was afraid that the one family would be suspicious, so he immediately rushed back. Therefore, It could be said that the two of them had never had the chance to tell each other their feelings. Now that they finally had the chance, the two of them naturally had a lot to talk about. Long Ruoxue thought for a moment and brought the two of them into the bracelet. Then, they went straight into the purple bamboo house. After entering the purple bamboo house, neither of them spoke much. They just hugged each other. After having enough hugs for the time being, they chatted about what had happened during this period. As they chatted, the freak suddenly said to Long Ruoxue, very seriously and cautiously, "Swear, if you dare to do such a dangerous thing in the future, I won't let you off." Okay. Long Ruoxue nodded. Even though the freak hadn't explained it, she knew what he was referring to, and she had instructed in advance that those who knew about it were not to tell anyone. The only one who hadn't been warned was the little black phoenix, so she wasn't surprised that the freak knew about it. Moreover, she could sense that the little black phoenix seemed to be connected to the freak. However, she wouldn't ask unless the freak took the initiative to tell her. "This is for you." Yichen took out a storage ring and handed it to Long Ruoxue. "Where did the herbs come from?" Long Ruoxue looked at the things in the ring through her divine sense and asked in surprise. "Hee, we of course robbed from the one family," Yichun said with a smirk. So you were the one who got someone to rob the one family. You're so bad. However, I like it." Long Ruoxue chuckled. She would occasionally get Qingju to check on the one family's situation, so she naturally knew that the one family had been robbed. However, she didn't expect that it was the freak who got someone to do it. Well, this guy was really resourceful. He could actually control the one family remotely. By the way, do you have the whereabouts of Chengwu and the others? Long Ruoxue asked after some thought. She knew that the freak had made an appointment with everyone. If they were separated, they would meet up in the one family's divine realm. However, Fengde and the others had been in the one family's divine realm for a period of time, but Chengwu and the others had disappeared like clay oxen plunging into the sea. This made her a little worried. "We heard on the way here that someone from the Mystic God Association in the Cheng family's divine realm had advanced collectively. That should be them. However, they should have arrived in the one family's divine realm by now. As for why they haven't arrived yet, I'm not sure," Yichen said helplessly. All his attention was on Shuer, so even if something happened to Chengwu and the others, he would prioritize Shuer. He could lose everything, but not Shuer. In that case, Chengwu and the others might still be in the Cheng family's divine realm. Long Ruoxue guessed. Perhaps. Yichen wasn't so sure. Finding someone in the God realm was like looking for a needle in a haystack. It was huge, after all, and even though the divine continent was only part of the realm, it wasn't small. Chapter 921. The Warm Old Man, 3. Then let's go to the Cheng family's divine realm to take a look. Maybe we can find them, Long Ruoxue suggested. Yes, but only after you've finished converting your energy. Otherwise, with your current strength, you'll have no choice but to wait for someone to grab you while you walk through the divine continent. Yichen reminded him with a wicked grin. The God realm is not peaceful. Beauty, you need my protection. Yichen added like a lecture. Yes, I'm counting on Big Brother Desha. Long Ruoxue smiled shyly. Shuer, let's discuss something. Can you not call me that? Yichen said gloomily. Sigh. That name didn't match his image. His reputation had been ruined by Zheng'an. But I think this name is not bad. Long Ruoxue smiled evilly, her beautiful eyes filled with teasing. Sigh. Shuer, the God realm is really chaotic, Yichen said helplessly. I know. He'll be careful. Long Ruoxue quickly promised obediently. Shuer, if anyone dares to snatch you away, well, if I can beat them, I'll beat them up. If I can't, Yichen smiled mysteriously and left half of his sentence unfinished. What do you want if you can't win? Long Ruoxue took the bait. She knew that this freak was waiting for her to ask. They would have to snatch me away too. Otherwise, I won't let him snatch you away, Yichen said shamelessly. Humph. The same thing couldn't happen again. Long Ruoxue couldn't help but break out in cold sweat when she heard the freak's words. She thought to herself, strong? He's really extraordinarily strong. He can't even beat him. Will he listen to you? However, She could only think about this in her heart and didn't dare to say it out loud. Otherwise, the freak would definitely cry for her. Okay. Long Ruoxue nodded cooperatively. Hee. Schwer, I haven't hugged you to sleep in a long time. I have to hug you to my heart's content today, Yi-chun said with anticipation. Then, he hugged Schwer tightly and closed his eyes. On the other side, it was already the next day when the head of the One family found out that Jing-in had already left. When he heard this news, he was angry and regretful because he never dreamed that Jing-in and his servant would really leave without even saying goodbye. In the main hall of the One family mansion, what are the guards of the One family doing? No one noticed that the two of them left? The head of the One family was so angry that his face and neck were red. He shouted at the top of his voice, Patriarch, what's the use of saying this now? Hurry up and send someone to find him. The sixth elder said anxiously. Sigh. Zhang Ersha had really left without a word, but what about the members of the One family? Thanks, butler. Why are you still standing there in a daze? Hurry up and send someone to find him. If you can't find him, you don't have to come back. The One family's head said angrily. Patriarch, don't be anxious. I've already sent someone to look for him, the head butler said with a long face. Boo-hoo. Was he caught in the crossfire without doing anything? This had nothing to do with him in the first place. It was all because the patriarch's family was not strict. Otherwise, how could Zhang Ersha have left? He could not help but feel his stomach ache. Find someone for me too. The head of the One family roared. He didn't want to see the head butler at all now. He was really too useless. He couldn't even handle such a small matter. If the butler had kept an eye on the money, how could he have given that old woman a chance? The One family's head grumbled in his heart. Yes, the head butler replied and hurriedly left the main hall. Patriarch, you have to give the family an explanation for this matter. After the head butler left to find someone, the sixth elder calmed down a lot. He also knew that the patriarch would definitely be unhappy after hearing this, but he had to say what he had to say. What explanation does the sixth elder want me to give? The One family's master glared at him as if he was about to fly into a rage at any moment. I don't know either. Patriarch, do as you see fit, the sixth elder said irresponsibly. Then, he closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. The head of the One family looked at the elders sitting there and felt anger rising in his heart. Damn it, he had asked them to meet Zhang Ersha earlier to get close to him, and these old fellows, including the sixth elder, had all rejected him. Now that he had left, it was all his fault. It was really infuriating. Just like that, the head of the One family and the elders stared at each other for a long time, but they could not think of a way to appease their clansmen. The Zhang Ersha they were looking for had long disappeared. At this moment, Long Ruoxue and the others had already left the foot of the nameless mountain range and were heading to the nearest small city according to the map to undergo energy conversion. Before leaving the nameless mountain range, Long Ruoxue had already advanced to the mystic god realm here. After she advanced, the beasts also advanced one after another. Now, Bai Su, Fengzhan, Mei, and the other beasts like the old phoenix had all broken through the barrier of a level 9 transcendent divine beast and advanced to become a divine beast. Among them, because the old phoenixes had cultivated for a long time, they were still the strongest. They had already reached the level of a level 4 divine beast. Now, their strength was almost equivalent to the high-level gods on the divine continent. Bai Su, on the other hand, was a level 3 divine beast. His strength was equivalent to an intermediate god in the divine continent. Fengzhan and Mei were respectively a level 2 divine beast and a level 1 divine beast. Now, their strength was almost at the level of junior gods or profound gods. As for treasures and other beasts, they had all advanced to level 9 super divine beasts and were only a step away from divine beasts. Long Ruoxue was quite satisfied with this result, but there was still a little accident. This was because Long Ruoxue had already signed a soul contract with the little peacock, the pythons, and the other beasts before she advanced. However, what she didn't expect was that the little peacock and some of the pythons hadn't advanced to a level 9 transcendent divine beast. The black python with the highest strength also couldn't break through to become a holy beast. This couldn't help but make her feel a little regretful. The little peacock and the other beasts were also very depressed. For this, she even comforted them for a long time. A day later, Lung Ruashue and the others arrived at the small city closest to the nameless mountain range. Although this city was small, it had a rather grand name, Will Heaven City. Moreover, it had everything. There was the Mystic God Association, the Alchemist Association, the Artificer Association, and so on. Chapter 922. The Warm Old Man. 4. Walking on the streets of Will Heaven City, Long Ruashua looked at the dazzling array of shops in the city and couldn't help but sigh. Such a small city is actually so prosperous. Even if it is small, it can still contain the essentials. The Will Heaven City isn't big, but this place isn't under the jurisdiction of any of the 8 great clans. So the city lord of this city will naturally do his best to manage it, Yichin explained with a light smile. In the Divine Continent, small cities like this generally weren't worthy of the 8 great clans' attention. Therefore, even if such small cities were prosperous, the money they earned was limited. Okay. Lung Ruashue nodded in agreement and wondered if they should build a small city like this in the future. Schwer, we've arrived at the Mystic God Association. Go and do the energy conversion first. Not long after, Yichin pointed at a 3-story staircase. Okay, go find a guest shop and wait for me. You don't have to accompany me, Lung Ruashue said after some thought. She knew that the freak and Fengda took more than half a month to perform the energy conversion, so she expected that it would take a long time. All right, then take care of yourself. Yichin nodded. Then, after watching Schwer walk into the Guild of Gods, he led Fengda and the others to find a guest shop. After Long Ruashue walked into the Mystic God Association, she found that the guild hall was actually empty. She stood alone in the hall for a while and casually looked around the layout of the guild hall. Then, she found a chair and sat down. Not long after, an inconspicuous old man came out of nowhere. The old man was not tall and looked fair and fat. He gave off a shrewd look. His strength was at the mid-level of the high-level deity. When the old man saw Lung Ruashue sitting in the hall, his eyes actually emitted a wolf-like light. Then, he quickly walked in front of Lung Ruashue and said very enthusiastically, "Are you here to undergo energy conversion? Welcome, welcome." The old man was very excited, and the way he looked at Lung Ruashue became more and more amiable and passionate. However, his gaze as if he was looking at prey made Lung Ruashue's hair stand on end. She wanted to run out. Ugh, she regretted it. If she had known that the people from the Mystic God Association in the Will Heaven City were perverts, she would have let the freak and the others accompany her. However, if this old man dared to do anything to her, he could not blame her for being impolite. At that time, she did not care if this person was from the Mystic God Association or not. She did not care if his strength was above hers. Thanks in an instant, Lung Ruashue's thoughts spun. Then, she composed herself and said calmly, "I'm here to undergo energy conversion. Is it convenient now?" "It's convenient. It's convenient. It's convenient whenever you come," the old man said excitedly. Lung Ruashue didn't know what to say. Could it be that this old man knew her? Even though she had been in the Divine Continent for a while, she didn't seem to have walked on the continent before. Hee. It'll bring you to undergo energy conversion now. After the old man finished speaking, he reached out to pull Lung Ruashue. Lung Ruashue dodged the old man's wolf claws and said unhappily, "Just lead the way." Good. Good, hee. I didn't expect the little girl to be so shy. The old man smiled happily. Lung Ruashue couldn't help but roll her eyes when she heard this old man's words. She thought to herself, wasn't she just shy? Hee. Let's go. We'll bring you to the conversion pool upstairs. The old man was not affected by Lung Ruashue's attitude. His face was still smiling, but this time, he did not reach out to pull Lung Ruashue. Don't we have to go through the procedures? We still have to hand over the crystals. Lung Ruashue said understandingly. The freak had already told her about the previous procedures, so this old man's non-compliance made her secretly vigilant. Hee, you can just drip your blood on this card to recognize it as your master. However, you don't have to pay the money. The old man took out a card from his ring and handed it to Long Ruoxue. No need to pay? Why? Long Ruoxue asked in confusion. To be honest, if this old man had gone through normal procedures, she might not have been too wary of him. However, this old man did not take the ordinary path and looked lecherous, so she had to be vigilant. Hee, I like you, the old man said happily. His bright eyes kept shooting at Long Ruoxue like a searchlight. After that, he even nodded his head vigorously as if he was very satisfied. Stinky old man, if you dare to look at me like that again, you'll regret it, Long Ruoxue warned impatiently. Little girl, don't misunderstand. I'm not a bad person. When the old man heard this, he knew that he had been misunderstood by this little girl, so he hurriedly explained. Boo-hoo. It wasn't easy for a peerless beauty to come to his association, but he didn't expect his excessive excitement to scare this girl. Wasn't this making his emotions worse? Bad people won't admit that they're bad, Long Ruoxue said lightly, her beautiful face filled with displeasure. Chapter 923. Little girl, I'm really not a bad person. Look at how amiable I am. I don't look like a bad person at all, the old man said with an expression as if he had wronged her. Stop talking nonsense. There are 10 medium-grade crystals here. Quickly bring me to undergo energy conversion. I still have something on, Long Ruoxue urged. Well, it wasn't that she didn't respect her elders. It was just that this old man was too abnormal. Little girl, I said that you don't have to pay, the old man reminded her aggrievedly. Boo-hoo. Why was such a beautiful little girl's temper so bad? No, you have to pay. Long Ruoxue glared at the old man with her beautiful eyes and said loudly. She didn't need to pay this old man, who knew if he had other motives. Therefore, she had to be wary. The old man was depressed. He had been in the Mystic God Association for many years, but he had never seen such a difficult little girl. She actually couldn't be refused without money. Alas, if it were anyone else, they would be overjoyed. However, it was obvious that this girl treated his good intentions as a hot potato. When the old man thought of this, he felt extremely aggrieved. All right, I'll accept this money. The old man sighed helplessly and then accepted the 10 medium-grade crystals Long Ruoxue handed him. Little girl, come upstairs with me, the old man said again and turned in the direction of the stairs. Long Ruoxue followed the old man up to the second floor. The old man brought her to her room and reminded her to stay longer before closing the door and going out. Long Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes slightly and sized up the arrangements in the room. Then, she came to the side of the spirit transformation fluid and walked into it. She sat cross-legged. She knew that the energy conversion was to absorb the conversion's spiritual liquid in the pool, so she didn't delay for too long and closed her eyes to absorb it on her own. 3 days later. Please keep reading 0NMYB0's novel. C0M. The old man stared at the staircase anxiously, wondering why this little girl hadn't finished converting yet. However, he was quite happy because this meant that this little girl's aptitude was not bad. However, after another half a month, the old man was a little uneasy when Long Ruoxue still didn't come down from upstairs. There were several times when he had the urge to go upstairs to take a look, but he still resisted it. After another week, Long Ruoxue finally walked down from upstairs. The old man looked at Long Ruoxue, who came down from upstairs as if he had seen a rare animal. His eyes lit up, and the expression on his face was extremely excited. He was so excited that he was speechless. Long Ruoxue looked at the old man's expression and thought about how to deal with it. However, before she could think clearly, she suddenly saw the freak appear behind the old man. Then, his fist smashed into the old man's head. In the blink of an eye, the old man fainted. Freak, why did you knock him out? Long Ruoxue said speechlessly. She hadn't bought a divine skill yet. Now, the only staff member in the entire association had also fainted. Who would sell her divine skills now? Other than fire and wind divine skills, they didn't have any other divine skills. The reason for this was because the freak and the others left in a hurry after the energy conversion last time, so they did not buy any divine skills. The divine skills of fire and wind were sponsored by Lung Chinya. However, only people with fire and wind attributes could use them. No one else could learn them. Apart from energy conversion, Long Ruox's other mission in the Mystic God Association was to buy divine skills. However, she could only buy ordinary divine skills in the Mystic God Association. The best divine skills could only be bought during auctions. Moreover, there was one good thing about divine skills. Even if one became an ultimate god, they could still use the divine skills they had learned. Do you think you can leave without knocking him out? The freak said helplessly. Then, he pulled Long Ruox's hand and walked out of the guild. When they arrived outside the guild, Fengde and the others were already waiting for them on the beast. After Long Ruoxue and the freak sat on it, Lei Xiao, who was acting as a flying beast, flapped his huge wings and left Will Heaven City. Miss, you didn't buy any divine skills again, right? Fengde, who was lying on Lei Xiao's back in midair, asked with a smile. That's right. That old man was knocked unconscious by the freak. Long Ruoxue was very helpless, but she was more depressed. Why was it that Fengde and the others could advance even though it was also an energy conversion? The freak had even advanced to the intermediate level of high-level deity, but she didn't even advance one level. She was bullied so badly. Hee. We escaped quickly last time. Otherwise, we would probably have been pestered too, Fengde said knowingly. Swear, don't worry. There will be divine skills. When we reach the Qing family's divine realm, we can just buy them from the Mystic God Association, Lung Chinya comforted. Yes, you have to appear when we reach the Qing family's divine realm, Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. Okay. Lung Chinya chuckled, his handsome face filled with helplessness. After Lei Xiao flew for nearly half a month, Lung Ruoxue and the others finally arrived at the Qing family's divine realm. The Qing family's divine realm was located in the southernmost part of the divine continent. There were a total of 7 cities. The largest city was the main city of the Qing family, and the Qing family's divine realm was ranked 3rd among the 8 divine realms. Among the 8 great clans of the God realm, other than the Ning family's divine realm, which was ranked 1st, the overall strength of the other 7 great clans was extremely different. Therefore, there were basically victories and defeats between them. After Long Ruoxue and the others entered the territory of the Qing family's divine realm, they did not stay for long and went straight to the Qing family's main city. After entering the Qing family's main city, it was afternoon. Long Ruoxue and the others first found a guest shop. Then, Lung Chinya went to the Mystic God Association to buy divine skills, while the others went to the streets to inquire about news. There are quite a lot of people in the Qing family's divine realm, Long Ruoxue said softly as she looked at the pedestrians on the street. Yes, other than the Qing family, there are also many outsiders in this city. The freak frowned. Well, he didn't like the way those people on the street looked at Shuer. Miss, I just heard some news, Fengde whispered to Long Ruoxue. What news? Long Ruoxue was a little curious. If it wasn't something important, Fengde shouldn't have specially come to tell her. Chapter 924. The beloved daughter of the Qing family's head is getting married in a few days, Fengde said mysteriously. What do you mean again? Lung Ruoxue was a little puzzled. Could it be that the daughter of the city lord had been married many times? I heard that the precious daughter of the Qing family's head already has 3 husbands. This is her 4th marriage, so there are so many people in the main city. Most of them are here to congratulate her, Fengde explained. Then what do they think of Miss Cheng? Lung Ruoxue couldn't help asking. That's right. They all praise Miss Cheng as a heroine and a role model for women. It's said that Miss Cheng is even the idol that many people admire. Fengde said in disbelief. It seems that the customs of the divine continent are different from other places. Lung Ruoxue guessed. Whether it was in Lingfeng or Haotian, such a thing was unimaginable. She still remembered that when they first arrived in the Haotian continent, the daughter of the city lord of Windless City was also called the 4 Evils because she liked handsome men. However, the handsome men of the daughter of Windless City were all snatched. Since this Miss Cheng was called a heroine, she should be different from the 4 Evils of Windless City. Yes, I was shocked when I heard the news. Moreover, it seems that such a thing is allowed in the god realm. Fengde looked at Lu Tao and said uneasily, Fengde, you guys continue strolling. Schwer and I will return to the guest shop first, the freak suddenly said. Then, without asking Schwer, he pulled her back to the guest room. In the guest room, please keep reading 0NMYB0's novel. C0M Longruashu looked at the freak who suddenly became depressed and asked in confusion, Freak, what's wrong with you? Schwer, don't even think about it. The freak pulled a long face and said extremely gloomily, Sigh. He really shouldn't have wandered around the streets with Schwer. He was really afraid that some things in the god realm would lead Schwer astray. Don't think about what? Longruaksha's beautiful face was full of question marks. You can only have me, the freak said domineeringly. Then, he held Schwer tightly in his arms. Hee, you're depressed because of this. Fool, I won't want anyone else except you. Longruashua quickly comforted and promised. Yes. The freak nodded in satisfaction. Then, he said, in the god realm, there are some women with excellent family backgrounds and aptitude who have such privileges. However, they still have to speak with strength. Oh, in that case, Miss Chung should be very outstanding? Longruashua said uncertainly. I think so. Otherwise, the Chung family wouldn't have allowed her to do this. You should know that most of the daughters of the families are basically used for marriages. However, it's obvious that this Miss Chung isn't, the freak analyzed. Yes, but no matter how outstanding she is, it's none of our business. If Qingwu and the others aren't here, we'll leave in a few days, Longruashua said with a light smile. She felt that she didn't have much interaction with that Miss Chung, so she naturally wouldn't pay attention to that heroine. Schwer, the Chung family's divine realm is not good. Let's leave this place as soon as possible, the freak suggested. Demon, Miss Chung is so outstanding. I'm not worried that she will have designs on you, let alone that you will fall in love with someone else. Why are you in a hurry? Longruashua teased and couldn't help but worry in her heart. If anyone should be worried, it should be me, right? I'm just afraid you'll learn bad things, the freak muttered softly. As if. Longruashua patted the freak's head and pretended to be unhappy. This guy clearly didn't trust her. Was she someone who could learn bad things so easily? Hee. Schwer, I love you. The freak smiled foolishly and said ingratiatingly. I also. Longruashua was about to say I love you too, but she was interrupted after saying 2 words. Miss. Lin Yuan rushed into Longruaksha's room anxiously. Then, he retreated when he saw his miss hugging Commander Yi tightly. Lin Yuan, what's the matter? Longruashua asked Lin Yuan, who stuck his head in. Yes. Lin Yuan nodded hard and told himself not to look at Commander Yi, who was unsatisfied. Boo-hoo. If looks could kill, he would probably have been killed by Commander Yi's glare. What is it? Come in and talk. Longruashua comforted the freak and then said to Lin Yuan, Miss, I saw Brother Song on the street. Lin Yuan walked in and said bluntly, Where did you see him? Longruashua quickly asked. At the entrance of a shop. However, Big Brother Song pretended not to know me, so he didn't say anything. There are many people around him. I asked around, and they seemed to be from the Chung family, Lin Yuan explained. The Chung family? Longruashua frowned slightly, deep in thought. She couldn't understand why Song Di was with the Chung family. Miss, I'm going out to ask around, Lin Yuan said. After seeing Song Di just now, he wanted to quickly tell Miss this news, so he didn't ask too clearly. No need. When it gets dark, I'll go to the Chung family with the freak. Longruashua thought for a while and said, since she already knew that Song Di was with the Chung family, it was better to go to the Chung family personally to ask Song Di. Lin Yuan, let Fengde and the others come here when they come back later. Longruashua instructed again. Yes, Mississippi, you'll go out first. Lin Yuan heaved a sigh of relief. Sigh. The pair that Commander Yi had given him was really too big. Not long after Lin Yuan left, Fengde and the others returned to the guest shop. Then, everyone came to Longruaksha's room. After Longruashua told them the news Lin Yuan had obtained, everyone was very surprised and puzzled. Miss, is this true? Feng De asked in disbelief. Why were Song Di and the others with the Chung family instead of going to the One family's divine realm to meet them? Of course it's true. I saw it with my own eyes. Not only that, but Brother Song also acted as if he didn't know me. I guarantee that I didn't misjudge him, Lin Yuan said very seriously. Chapter 925, Schwer. It's probably not convenient for Song Di to pretend not to know Lin Yuan. They might have encountered some trouble. Lung Qingtian thought for a while and analyzed. He really didn't believe that Song Di and the others abandoned them because they had found a new backer in the God realm. After all, he trusted Cheng Wu and the others. Yes, they'll go to the Chung family with the freak after dark to see what the situation is. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Miss, they'll go with you. Feng De hurriedly said. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Stay in the inn and wait for news. Lung Ruoxue looked at the expectant gazes of the others and said helplessly. She knew that the others were also very curious about this matter. After all, after interacting for so long, they all knew Cheng Wu and the others very well. Yeah, they all nodded. After dark, Lung Ruoxue asked Yao to cast an invisibility spell on them, and the three of them sneaked into the Chung family mansion. The Chung family's mansion was larger than the Wen family's, and Lung Ruoxue and the other two didn't have anyone to lead the way, so it could be said that they were blind. Therefore, they could only look in the courtyard one by one. The three of them split up and each found a direction. They agreed that if they found anything suspicious, they would contact each other through the voice transmission jade token. Lung Ruoxue chose the north, but after searching 3 courtyards, she didn't find any traces of Cheng Wu and the others. Please keep reading 0NMYB0's novel. C0M, Qingju, did you discover anything? Lung Ruoxue sent a voice transmission to Qingju. Sister, there are ultimate gods guarding the 8 divine realms on the divine continent, so I don't dare to search too widely. However, I didn't find Cheng Wu and the others anywhere I looked. Qingju replied. Sister, it would be great if we could find someone from the Chung family. That way, I can read minds, Qingju added. I wanted to, but I can't find it. Lung Ruoxue said gloomily. She finally realized that the 8 great families were extraordinarily confident. She actually didn't see many guards at night, and she didn't know where the guards on night duty were. Sister, don't be anxious. Let's search slowly. We'll find it eventually, Qingju comforted. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Then, she planned to continue searching for Cheng Wu and the others. Just as she was about to move, she received a voice transmission from the freak saying that she had found them. After hearing the news from the freak, Lung Ruoxue immediately went to the courtyard that the freak mentioned to meet him. Not long after, Feng De arrived. Monster, are Cheng Wu and the others definitely inside? Lung Ruoxue confirmed. Yes, I've already seen Song Di, but I asked him to go back to his room and wait for us, the freak explained. When he walked into the courtyard, he saw Song Di looking around at the door, as if he was waiting for someone, so he directly went forward to greet him. Then let's go in, Lung Ruoxue urged. All right, the freak replied. Then, the 3 of them walked into the courtyard. The courtyard where Cheng Wu and the others lived now could be considered top-notch from the size of the courtyard and the decorations in the courtyard. Lung Ruoxue sized up the scenery in the courtyard as she walked, and the more she looked, the more puzzled she was. At this moment, in the only room in the courtyard with the lights on, 2 men were walking around like ants on a hot pan. When Lung Ruoxue and the other 2 pushed open the door and walked in, they happened to see such a scene. Hee, looks like the 2 of you are treated well. Lung Ruoxue teased with a light smile. Well, just by looking at the luxurious furnishings in this room, she knew that they shouldn't have suffered any physical pain. Instead, the treatment the Chung family gave them was quite high. Miss, don't tease us, Cheng Wu said to the void with a bitter face. Because Miss and the others were invisible, he couldn't determine their exact location and could only speak to the air. I didn't. Your treatment is indeed better than mine, Lung Ruoxue said with slight grievance. After she was captured by the One family's ultimate god, The place she lived in couldn't compare to Cheng Wu and the others at all. Miss, there's a reason why this treatment is good. Song Di glanced at Cheng Wu and said with sympathy, "We're here to hear the reason. Tell us." Feng De covered his mouth and chuckled. Well, he was not so worried when he saw the place Cheng Wu lived in. This is the Cheng family's divine realm, and your surname is Cheng. Could it be that you have something to do with them? Lung Ruoxue guessed. Miss, I have nothing to do with them. I can swear. Cheng Wu hurriedly promised when he heard Lung Ruoxue's words. Even though the Cheng family had also used such a reason to persuade him to stay, he had rejected them. There's no need to swear. Tell me why you're with the Cheng family. Lung Ruoxue said curiously. Miss, this has to start when we just arrived in the God realm. Cheng Wu sighed softly. Boo-hoo. He didn't even contribute to Miss Matters, and now he had to make Miss worry about his matters. He was really too ashamed. Ever since he heard from Song Di that he had seen Lin Yuan in the afternoon, he had guessed that Miss had been saved. Now that he had heard his Miss voice with his own ears, he was even more relieved. Sigh. Even though he really wanted to know Miss' situation these days, it was obvious that this was not the time, and Miss might not tell them in detail here. Boo-hoo. Okay, say it. Lung Ruoxue was very calm. Miss, we originally agreed to gather at the one family's divine realm if we were separated. The place where we were sent by the teleportation light to be very close to the Cheng family's divine realm, so we directly underwent energy conversion at the Mystic God Association here. However, our energy conversion caused a huge commotion, so we were targeted by the Cheng family. After the head of the Cheng family found out that my surname was also Cheng, he invited me to join the Cheng family in the name of my race, but I rejected him. Cheng Wu paused with a difficult expression. Oh, then did the Cheng family make things difficult for you? Lung Ruo said lightly. After hearing Cheng Wu's words, she understood. The Cheng family must have felt that Cheng Wu and the others' qualifications were too good, so they wanted to take them in. No, the head of the Cheng family is very reasonable. Seeing that we were unwilling and had something urgent to do, he let us leave. However, on the way out of the Cheng family's divine domain, Cheng Wu found it difficult to speak. Sigh. This matter was really too dramatic. Chapter 926. On the way out of the Cheng family's divine domain, we had a conflict with someone and indirectly saved the eldest daughter of the Cheng family who was captured by him. That Miss Cheng wanted to express her gratitude to us, so she forced us to stay and even wanted to marry Brother Cheng. Song Di saw that Cheng Wu couldn't say it, so he explained for him. So you're the person Miss Cheng is going to marry? Feng De said in surprise. He really didn't expect the groom of the Cheng family to be an acquaintance. Sigh. Don't mention it, Mississippi. We really didn't meddle in other people's business. Boo-hoo. Cheng Wu was depressed. However, he hated the person who had a conflict with him even more. He could have captured anyone, but why did he have to capture Miss Cheng? Now, she insisted on giving herself to him. Sigh. What should he do? Is Miss Cheng beautiful? Lung Ruoxue suddenly asked. It's all right. Cheng Wu replied honestly. No way. I heard that Miss Cheng is a rare beauty. Feng De said with a smile. After knowing that Cheng Wu and the others were in the Cheng family, they specially went to inquire about the situation of the Cheng family, including Miss Cheng. It's not bad. Perhaps Miss Cheng is a beauty in the eyes of others, but it's not like I haven't seen someone more beautiful than her, Cheng Wu said truthfully. The beauty he was referring to was naturally his own miss. How strong is she? Lung Ruoxue asked again. Her strength is above mine, Cheng Wu said after some thought. In order to leave this place, he had fought Miss Cheng. However, he had lost. How strong is the person who had a conflict with you? Lung Ruoxue continued to ask. Please keep reading 0NMYB0's novel. See 0M, that person's strength is inferior to mine. I can beat him up alone, Cheng Wu said with certainty. In that case, how could that person capture Miss Cheng? Moreover, it's to capture someone in the Cheng family's divine realm. Does he want to die? Also, how many people did that person bring? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with suspicion. Miss, that person only brought 5 people with her. However, Miss Chung seems to have some illness. When she was caught by them, it happened to be when she fell ill. As for the person who captured her, she's from the Yao family. The Yao family is also one of the 8 great families. Their 2 families have never gotten along, Chengwu said after thinking for a while. He had heard about these situations from Miss Chung, and he had also inquired about them himself. Swear, the Yao family is ranked second among the 8 great families, the freak added. Oh, monster, what do you think the probability of this being a coincidence is? Lung Ruoxue asked. Because she wasn't involved and didn't see anyone from the Chung family, she couldn't tell if this was a coincidence or if the Chung family did it on purpose. I don't know either. However, the Chung family has a good reputation in the God realm. Moreover, the head of the Chung family is quite prestigious in the God realm. The freak shook his head. Cheng Wu, what do you think? Also, how did the sensible head of the Cheng family react to you becoming the son-in-law of the Cheng family? Lung Ruoxue continued to ask suspicious questions. Miss, we haven't seen the Cheng family's head yet. However, Miss Chung said that as long as she likes it, her father won't have any objections, Cheng Wu said helplessly. He had wanted to see the Chung family's head a few times, but he had been stopped. Sigh. That's right, Mississippi. On the surface, this matter seems to have been decided by Miss Chung alone. However, it's indeed quite strange that the head of the Chung family hasn't appeared. Song Di thought for a moment and said, Hee, Big Brother Chung. I heard that Miss Chung already has 3 husbands? Feng De asked curiously. Even though everyone in the city said so, he didn't know if it was true. Chung Wu nodded awkwardly. Brother Chung, if that's the case, Miss Chung, you really can't marry him. Feng De said very seriously. Damn it. Who said I was going to marry her? Chung Wu was furious when he heard Feng Da's words. Calm down. Feng De didn't dare to tease him anymore and quickly comforted him. Then, he said to Lung Ruoxue, Miss, why don't we take Brother Chung and the others out while it's dark? No. Chung Wu refused. Didn't you not want to marry Miss Chung? I can take you out of here now. Lung Ruoxue said in confusion. Miss, we can't go with you now, Chung Wu said gloomily. Why? Have you changed your mind about marrying Miss Chung? Feng Da's face was also full of question marks. No, Blackie and the others were taken away by them. We searched for them for a long time but couldn't find them, Chung Wu said guiltily. Sigh. If anything happened to his brother because of him, he would probably have to die to apologize. Miss, if it weren't for this, we would have long thought of a way to leave this place. However, we're trapped here now. Moreover, we've always been monitored by the Chung family. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been so afraid to recognize Lin Yuan when I saw him this afternoon. Song Di also had a distressed expression. Sigh. He kept him by Cheng Wu's side so that he could accompany Brother Chung. I see. Well, don't be anxious. We'll go back and discuss with the others and think of a good way to save you then, Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. Then, the few of them chatted for a while before leaving the Chung family. After returning to the guest shop, Lung Ruoxue and the others discussed for the night and finally decided to take the initiative to attack. Therefore, they went straight to the door the next day. Chapter 927. After Lung Ruoxue and the others arrived at the Cheng family, they directly said that they wanted to look for the eldest daughter of the Cheng family. When the guards saw their extraordinary auras, they did not dare to neglect them. The eldest daughter of the Cheng family, Chung Lan, who was resting in her room, frowned when she heard the guards' report and seriously thought about who it was because she was very sure that she didn't know Lung Ruoxue. Laner, don't think about it. You're frowning, a man in the room said with some heartache. This man was tall and strong. Although he was not particularly handsome, he was very masculine. He was one of Chung Lan's husbands, Lu Xian from the Lu family, who was ranked last among the 8 great families. Do you know if any of my friends are called Lung Ruoxue? Chung Lan could not help but ask. Hee. Laner, if you don't remember, how can I recognize you? Lu Xian said speechlessly. Laner had a wide range of friends and was generous. Therefore, There were often some Tom, Dick, and Harry who would take the opportunity to come and take advantage of her. Therefore, he had never had a good impression of Laner's bad friends. But I really can't remember who she is, Chung Laner said with an aggrieved expression. Don't think about it if you don't want to. It's not a big deal. If you don't want to see him, just ask the guards to return, Lucien said indifferently. He didn't think it was difficult to send away a friend he didn't know well, but he was afraid Laner didn't think so. How can that be? Father often said that if you visit, you're a guest. Whether you like it or not, you shouldn't neglect it. As expected, Chung Lan objected as soon as she heard Lucien's words. How can that be? Father often said that if you visit, you're a guest. Whether you like it or not, you shouldn't neglect it. As expected, Chung Lan objected as soon as she heard Lucien's words. Please keep reading 0NMYB0's novel. See 0M alright, let her in. I also want to see what she wants from me, Chung Lan said curiously. After receiving Chung Lan's order, the guard left Chung Lan's courtyard and went to the door to invite Long Ruoxue and the others in. After bringing them to the main hall, the guard left. Long Ruoxue and the others sat in the main hall for a while. Not long after, a young man and woman walked in from outside. Long Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and sized up the young woman who walked in. Oh, she should be the eldest daughter of the Chung family. This woman looked very young. Moreover, as the rumors said, she was a rare beauty. Her strength was not bad, and she was an intermediate high-level deity. As for the obviously hostile man beside her, he was probably one of her husbands. Even though the man was not particularly handsome, he had an outstanding temperament and looked otherworldly. He gave off a very clean feeling. Even though his cultivation level was not as high as the woman beside him, the two of them were very compatible when they stood together. However, why did that man look so unhappy with them? Long Ruoxue's heart was filled with question marks. She had never seen these two people before. Besides, they had imprisoned her subordinates in disguise. She should be the one who was angry. While Long Ruoxue was sizing up Chung Lan and Lucien, the two of them were also sizing up Long Ruoxue and the others. Chung Lan looked at Long Ruoxue in amazement and was even more surprised in her heart. Oh, this woman was really beautiful. She was even more beautiful than the two bitches from the Ning family and the Yao family. No, to be precise, the two bitches from the Ning family and the Yao family couldn't even compare to a strand of this woman's hair. Hee. She was so happy in her heart. Unfortunately, this woman's strength was too low, only at the mystic god level. This was a little flawed. Chung Lan. Miss Long, do we know each other? Chung Lan introduced herself and asked bluntly. How should I put it? Long Ruoxue was in a difficult position. The two of them didn't know each other, but Chung Lan wanted to force her subordinate to marry her. Sigh. Miss Long, feel free to tell me if you have any difficulties. I will definitely help if I can, Chung Lan said generously. Really? Long Ruoxue was a little suspicious. She wondered if Miss Chung would fall out with her if she told Chung Lan to let her subordinates go. However, the first impression Chung Lan gave her didn't seem like an unreasonable and unruly person. Why would she do something to imprison her subordinates? She couldn't understand. Of course, Chung Lan was very loyal. In addition, she liked Long Ruoxue, so she naturally agreed to everything. In that case, please let my subordinates go, Miss Chung. Long Ruoxue went straight to the point, thinking, you asked me to mention this. Your subordinate? I didn't capture your subordinate. Chung Lan's face was full of question marks. Then, she turned to ask Lucien, do you know who in the Chung family captured Miss Long's subordinate? She's asking you for someone. If you don't know, how would I know? Lucien rolled his eyes and said helplessly. Sigh. Laner's personality was sometimes too out of line. She didn't even figure out what was going on before making things clear. She didn't allow anyone to stop her, or she would fall out with them. Miss Long. Chung Lan looked at Long Ruoxue helplessly, her beautiful face still full of innocence. Long Ruoxue was speechless. Moreover, she could tell that Chung Lan was definitely not pretending. She really didn't know. Sigh. How could this be? Chung Lan had exceeded her expectations. If Cheng Lan was an unruly, willful, and unreasonable woman, it would be easier to deal with her. However, it was really not easy for her to deal with someone who did not remember what she had done. More importantly, this was the Cheng family's territory. Sigh. Miss Cheng. I'm talking about Cheng Wu and the others. Lung Ruoxue had no choice but to make herself clear. Brother Cheng and the others are your subordinates? But why is your strength not as high as Brother Cheng and the others? Cheng Lan did not understand. In her understanding, it was very embarrassing for a subordinate to have a higher cultivation than her. Moreover, this way, it would not be easy to convince her subordinates. Isn't it normal for my cultivation to not be as high as theirs? This way, they can protect me, Long Ruoxue said lightly, feeling a sense of powerlessness in her heart. Sigh. What kind of logic was this, Miss Cheng? Chapter 928. It shouldn't be like this. If your subordinates are stronger than you, why would they be convinced by you? Cheng Lan said stubbornly. That depends on your personality. Force can't solve everything. Miss Cheng, I'm not here to discuss this with you. Lung Ruoxue defended herself and then reminded her speechlessly. But Cheng Lan didn't give up and wanted to ask, but Lung Ruoxue interrupted her. Miss Cheng, please release my subordinates. Lung Ruoxue sighed and said politely, I didn't catch them. They stayed here willingly. Besides, we're getting married in a few days, so you're welcome to attend the wedding. Cheng Lan explained. Then, as if she was shy, her voice became softer and softer. Miss Cheng, you locked Cheng Wu's brothers elsewhere. Cheng Wu can't not stay here even if he wants to. Besides, Cheng Wu doesn't want to marry you, Lung Ruoxue said honestly. If possible, she didn't want to fall out with this Miss Cheng. Even though Cheng Lan's forced marriage was a little shameful, Cheng Lan's first impression wasn't too bad. She also felt that Cheng Lan should be different from those unruly daughters of aristocratic families, so she hoped that she could convince this Miss Cheng. I didn't lock them up. I just hope that Brother Cheng can live comfortably. If so many people live together, it will be very inconvenient. That's why I arranged for the others to live elsewhere. Besides, didn't I leave that person called Song Di to accompany him? Cheng Lan explained. She didn't feel that she had done anything wrong. Instead, she thought that she had thought it through. Lung Ruoxue felt more and more helpless when she heard Cheng Lan's words because she clearly realized that she was not on the same channel as Cheng Lan. Lung Ruoxue took a deep breath and calmed herself down. She secretly warned herself to hold it in and not be angry before saying calmly, Miss Cheng, maybe your arrangement is kind, but Cheng Wu doesn't think it's good. Does he think this arrangement isn't good? But he didn't tell me. Cheng Lan's frown deepened. She really didn't think that there was anything wrong with this arrangement. She even sent someone to take care of Brother Cheng and Song Di. Please keep reading 0NMYB0's novel. C0M, what should I tell you? You want change even if I tell you. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but grumble. Moreover, she knew that with Cheng Lan's personality, even if Cheng Wu told her, he probably wouldn't take it seriously. Moreover, Cheng Wu had asked to leave several times, but Cheng Lan didn't allow it. Later, Cheng Lan arranged for so many people to serve him, so Cheng Wu and Song Di would naturally feel that they were being watched. In addition, He Zi and the others were in Cheng Lan's hands, so they could only commit the crime. Miss Cheng, will you let them go if Cheng Wu asks you to? Seeing that his lady was too depressed to speak, Feng De spoke up on her behalf. He's my future husband. Of course he can't leave me. Cheng Lan thought for a moment and said seriously. Cheng Lan's words made Feng De speechless. Sigh. He knew that this would be the outcome. This Miss Cheng was extraordinarily stubborn. Moreover, he realized that as long as Miss Cheng was determined, it seemed that it was useless for others to say anything. Miss Cheng, our brother Cheng doesn't want to marry you at all. Lin Yuan couldn't stand it anymore and said directly. Why? In what way am I not good enough for him? Hearing this, Cheng Lan was sad. She thought that she had done her best for Brother Cheng, but why didn't Brother Cheng want to marry her? How do you know that Cheng Wu doesn't want to marry Laner? Did he tell you himself? At this moment, Lu Xian, who had not said a word, suddenly asked and stared at them suspiciously. Tisk, isn't it obvious? Which man is willing to share his woman with others? This is definitely a humiliation to men. Of course, it's the same for women. Love is originally a monogamy. If there's someone else in the relationship, this relationship won't be so precious, Lin Yuan said very seriously. Tisk, isn't it obvious? Which man is willing to share his woman with others? This is definitely a humiliation to men. Of course, it's the same for women. Love is originally one-sided. If there's someone else in the relationship, this relationship won't be so precious, Lin Yuan said very seriously. Miss Chung, everyone has different standards for relationships. Perhaps some people like to have a harem, but most people like monogamy. Therefore, Cheng Wu won't accept you, and you can't possibly abandon your 3 husbands for him, right? Lung Ruoxue analyzed. It was hard to say about relationships, and others could not make any decisions for her. Therefore, she really hoped that Cheng Lan could figure it out herself. Otherwise, unless she could kill Cheng Lan and destroy the Cheng family now, this big trouble would keep pestering them. I really like Brother Cheng, Cheng Lan whispered with a hurt expression. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Love can only last if both sides are willing and are happy, Lung Ruoxue said. I never wanted to force him. I just like him too much, really. Cheng Lan felt wronged and tears welled up in her eyes. Miss Chung, sometimes people can't be too self-centered. Perhaps you think it's good for him, but it depends on whether others can accept it. But Cheng Wu has no choice but to accept it now. Lung Ruoxue sighed softly, her beautiful face filled with speechlessness. Is it wrong to like someone? Cheng Lan said sadly. She had never liked to be unreasonable and bully others, but she was so stubborn on certain matters that even her parents could not do anything about it. It's not wrong to like someone, but if you want to be together, both sides have to be willing. Lung Ruoxue said implicitly. Looking at Cheng Lan, she couldn't say it too harshly. Otherwise, others would think that she had bullied the eldest daughter of the Cheng family. Feelings can be nurtured slowly. I believe that Brother Cheng will be moved by me one day. Cheng Lan's stubbornness rose again. It could be said that she did not want to give up. Miss Chung, if that day really comes, I won't stop you, but not now. I won't watch my subordinates be forced. So please let Cheng Wu and the others leave, Lung Ruoxue said seriously. Chapter 929. Not unless you can beat me, Cheng Lan said. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement. If this was Cheng Lan's condition, then she was willing to accept this challenge. You actually agreed? Cheng Lan was a little surprised. In fact, she was certain that Lung Ruoxue would not agree to such a condition. This way, Cheng Wu could stay by her side openly. If this is your condition for letting him go, I accept it, Lung Ruoxue said very cautiously. She didn't want such trouble to keep pestering them, so it would be best if she could fulfill the other party's conditions herself. But you can't let others help you, including your own beasts, Cheng Lan added. Okay. Lung Ruoxue still agreed. It was her plan to be polite before resorting to force. Are you crazy? Cheng Lan said crazily. She swore that she just wanted Lung Ruoxue to retreat and not really want to fight with her. I'm very normal, Miss Chung. You came up with this condition yourself. If I can defeat you, I hope you can keep your promise and stop forcing Cheng Wu. Of course, if Cheng Wu is moved by you and is willing to be with you, I won't stop it. Lung Ruoxue didn't say it too confidently. Otherwise, if she really angered Cheng Lan, it would definitely be a huge problem for them. All right then. Cheng Lan was a little unwilling. However, she had no choice but to accept this fact. There's no time like the present. Miss Chung, find a suitable place and let's spar. Lung Ruoxue urged. Ever since the energy conversion was completed, although she had sparred with Fengda and the others, Fengda and the others were only junior gods, so it wasn't satisfying for her to fight at all. As for Long Qinya and the Freak, they didn't fight her at all. Now that she had Cheng Lan as her opponent, she naturally couldn't let them off. Please keep reading 0NMYB0's novel. C0M, follow me. Cheng Lan said gloomily. Then, she left the main hall with Long Ruoxue and the others and headed to the training ground. However, Chenglan was unhappy all the way. She could not understand why a mere mystic god was looking forward to the battle more than her. After arriving at the training ground, Chenglan chose an empty place and brought Long Ruoxue and the others in. There were a total of 5 training grounds in the Qing family, and each of them was large enough to accommodate nearly 100 people. Therefore, even after so many people entered, the entire training ground still seemed empty. "Is this place okay?" Chenglan asked gloomily. "Of course." Long Ruoxue nodded in satisfaction. "Then let's start now. They'll let you come out with 3 moves first," Chenglan said generously after the 2 of them walked into the arena. "Don't regret it," Long Ruoxue reminded. Since the other party was willing to give in, she naturally wouldn't be coy and say no. Hee. It would be a waste not to. After all, this concerned the freedom of Chengwu and the others, and this was her first time fighting a god above the intermediate level, so she took this battle very seriously. "I won't regret it," Chenglan said. However, she really regretted it after saying that because Long Ruoxue had already made her move. Looking at the fire dragon that bared its fangs and brandished its claws with a terrifying aura, pouncing at her with a majestic aura, she actually felt a moment of fear. Even though it was only for a moment, this was unacceptable to her, who had always been proud. "Be careful of my fire dragon dance," Long Ruoxue reminded. Even though the name of the fire dragon dance was very impressive, it could only be considered an ordinary divine skill. Moreover, in the eyes of others, this divine skill was not very powerful, but it was hard to say in her hands. "I'll be careful," Chenglan replied very politely. Because she had said that she would let Long Ruoxue make 3 moves, she could only defend. With that, Chenglan immediately set up a transparent defensive barrier for herself. The defensive barrier was earthen yellow and looked like it was only a thin layer, as if it would break at a touch. However, after Long Ruoxue's fire dragon collided with the defensive barrier, not only did the transparent membrane not move, it even bounced her fire dragon back. Long Ruoxue looked at the fire dragon that was flying towards her and smiled faintly. Then, she released a fire dragon as thick as a bucket to stop the fire dragon that bounced back and absorbed the divine power on the fire dragon. After that, she split into 2 fire dragons and flew towards Chenglan. This divine skill was called the Dance of the 2 Dragons. She had once seen her Cheapsake old ancestor use it. However, at that time, the ancestor used mystic energy to activate it, and she was using divine power now, so its power was doubled. People who had ascended to the God Realm or the natives of the God Realm could only use divine power normally after undergoing energy conversion. Moreover, from then on, the spiritual energy they absorbed in the world would automatically transform into divine power. The level of divine power was definitely higher than mystic energy. Therefore, only those who could use divine power could become gods. "Is this the Dance of the 2 Dragons?" Chenglan could not help but ask as she watched the fire dragons approaching her. These 2 dragons seemed to be different from the Dance of the 2 Dragons she knew. When she fought others, she had seen others use this divine skill. However, the power that those people used was definitely not comparable to the 2 fire dragons flying towards her now. "Yes." Long Ruoxue nodded. Among the divine skills, the fire dragon dance and the Dance of the 2 Dragons were not the best, so she was not surprised that Chenglan would have such a reaction. "You're not lying to me, are you? The Dance of the 2 Dragons doesn't make people feel so pressured," Chenglan said with a look of disbelief. "It's true. There's no such thing as a bad divine skill in this world. There are only people who can't use it well." Long Ruoxue was very sure that she wasn't wrong and couldn't help but defend her divine skill. The 2 fire dragons seemed to have sensed Long Ruoxue's words and danced even more happily. In an instant, the 2 fire dragons had already approached Chenglan's defensive barrier. However, before attacking, the 2 dragons exchanged glances and then attacked in one direction. Chapter 930. With a crisp sound, Changlan's defensive barrier shattered with a huge explosion. In an instant, fire and dust flew everywhere. The two dragons had completed their mission and returned to the world. Changlan was injured by the aftershock of the explosion because she underestimated Long Ruox's strength. A trace of blood flowed out of the corner of her mouth. Laner, Lu Xian, who was standing below the arena, looked at Changlan worriedly and couldn't help but shout, "I'm fine." Changlan wiped the blood off her lips and forced a smile. Laner. Lu Xian knew that Laner was injured, but at this moment, he knew that he could not stop her unless she admitted defeat or gave up. Changlan looked at Lu Xian comfortingly, then turned to Long Ruoxue with mixed feelings. She had promised to let Long Ruoxue make 3 moves, but she was already unable to withstand the second move. Even though Changlan knew that she would definitely lose if they continued fighting, she was really unwilling to admit defeat just like that. She had always been proud, and she rarely had an opponent among women her own age. Even when it came to a lot of good men, Shed had no fear of any of them, except for the particularly top ones. But today, a small, insignificant mystic god made her feel intensely powerless. Something Shed never felt before. Long Ruoxue saw Changlan looking at her thoughtfully but not saying anything, so she could only let her look. After a while, Changlan finally couldn't help but speak. "Why aren't you continuing?" Changlan asked in confusion. Logically speaking, shouldn't Long Ruoxue chase after her and beat her down? Aren't you thinking? It's not fair to attack when the other party is distracted, Long Ruoxue said indifferently. In fact, if it were someone else, she definitely wouldn't have stopped. However, she could tell that Changlan wasn't an unreasonable person, so she was willing to give Changlan a chance to think it through herself because this was the only way to settle this once and for all. Otherwise, Changlan would probably not be convinced, and there would be no end to this trouble. "I want to know your true strength," Changlan said after some thought. "It's what you see, mystic god," Long Ruoxue said gloomily. Boo-hoo. She was sad when she thought about how she didn't even advance 1 level during the energy conversion. "You didn't hide your strength?" Changlan's eyes widened in disbelief. If Long Ruoxue was really at the mystic god level, she was definitely the most abnormal mystic god she had ever seen. One had to know that in the god realm, the difference in strength was like the difference between heaven and earth. If others knew that a little mystic god had actually broken through her defensive barrier, no one would believe it. "No, I just completed the energy conversion more than half a month ago. I didn't have time to learn many divine skills," Long Ruoxue said honestly. Yesterday, Long Qinya had just bought all the divine skills sold by the Mystic God Association, and last night, they had been discussing becoming martial artists, so they didn't have the time to learn divine skills. Changlan was speechless. Boo-hoo. How did she meet such a pervert? "Brother Cheng, can't we really be together?" "I admit defeat," Changlan said reluctantly after a long while. Long Ruoxue had broken her defense, and she was also injured. It wouldn't do her any good to continue fighting. Even though she was sometimes very stubborn, she still knew what to do in big matters. She admitted defeat because she didn't want to lose too badly. However, this also strengthened her determination to cultivate hard. Sooner or later, she would definitely wash away this stain. "Then Cheng Wu," Long Ruoxue reminded, but she didn't finish her sentence. She knew that Changlan understood. "I'll let them go with you. However, what I want to say is that I really didn't capture him or lock him up. I just want him to stay here. Besides, there are people serving them every day," Changlan explained. Even though she was filled with reluctance, she had given her word previously so she could only bear the pain and part with him. "Boo-hoo. Brother Cheng, I really can't bear to part with you. Miss Cheng, I've also said that for the sake of others, they have to be able to accept your kindness. Otherwise, it will be a burden to others," Long Ruoxue said bluntly. She believed that Changlan had no ill intentions towards Cheng Wu and the others. However, Changlan did not know that the kind of kindness she thought was unacceptable to others. "I understand. I'll listen to your advice," Changlan said humbly. Then, she brought Long Ruoxue and the others back to the main hall. Not long after, Cheng Wu and the others were brought over. Chapter 931. Miss Chung Wu and the others were very happy to see Long Ruoxue. However, they knew that this was not a place for small talk, so they could only endure it. They also wanted to leave here quickly, especially Chung Wu. They wished they could grow wings and fly away. "We can leave now," Long Ruoxue said in amusement when she saw Chung Wu's anxious look. Yes, yes. Everyone nodded. However, just as they were about to leave, Chung Lan stopped them. Wait. Chung Lan looked at Chung Wu, who was eager to leave her house, and felt very upset. Miss Chung, is there anything else? Long Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and asked calmly. She couldn't help but mutter in her heart. Would she go back on her word? When Chung Wu heard Chung Lan's words, his heart skipped a beat. To be honest, he was really afraid that Chung Lan would cause trouble again. He was really afraid. Brother Chung, I can let you leave this time. But Chung Lan looked at Chung with nervous expression and was furious. She didn't know how to say what she wanted to say. But what? What do you want? Chung Wu asked warily, his heart wailing. Wu, spare him. I will continue to pursue you. I will show you my sincerity. I won't give up so easily. Chung Lan blushed and said in one breath. Chung Wu was completely depressed after hearing Chung Lan's words. However, they were in someone else's territory now, so he didn't dare to say anything he shouldn't. Otherwise, if he angered the eldest daughter of the Chung family, none of them would be able to leave. That would be a tragedy. Yes, that's right. Miss Chung, please remember, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. If Chung Wu is willing to be with you, I won't stop him. Long Ruoxue looked at Chung Wu's pitiful gaze and could only say helplessly. She said this to remind Chung Lan not to force Chung Wu. I know. I won't force him. I'll try my best to woo him and move him, Chung Lan said as bravely as a female warrior born for love. In fact, she had never said such things to anyone in her life, so she was nervous and shy. Then work hard. Goodbye. Long Ruoxue said and left the Chung family mansion with everyone. On the way back to the restaurant, Chung Wu looked at Long Ruoxue bitterly and wanted to say something but hesitated. Chung Wu, why are you looking at me with a resentful expression? You caused this yourself. Long Ruoxue teased Chung Wu after returning to the guest room. Miss, you won't even help me, Chung Wu said with a depressed expression. Why won't I help you? If I didn't help you, would you be standing here now? Long Ruoxue asked helplessly. Alas, how could she make decisions for Chung Wu when it came to relationships? That's right. Brother Chung, if Miss hadn't thought of a way to get you out, you would only be able to wait as a groom in the Cheng family now, Fengde said, wishing for the world to be in chaos. I meant just now, Takashi reminded him. Oh, what if she changes her mind if I didn't say that just now? Long Ruoxue looked at Chung Wu and chuckled. Hee hee, that's true. Miss, let's leave this place quickly. The further we go, the better. Chung Wu smiled foolishly and quickly said. He was now once bitten, twice shy. Therefore, he only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible and stay far away from Chung Lan. Haha, Brother Chung, it seems like you're really afraid. Actually, I think that Miss Chung is not bad. You can really consider her, Fengde suggested with a smile. Go to hell. If you like it, consider it yourself. Chung Wu roared angrily. I can't. I already have someone, Fengde said regretfully. Lu Tao, you have to be careful. Chung Wu looked at Fengde provocatively and reminded him. Doesn't matter, said Peachy, unimpressed. My lady said that new things will only come if I discard the old. Chung Wu was depressed. He didn't seem to have succeeded in sowing discord. All right, stop fooling around. Since the matter has been resolved, let's leave tomorrow. Long Ruoxue said after watching them laugh for a while. Miss, let's go now. Chung Wu was very eager. Chung Wu, you're a man. How can you be so frightened by a woman? Long Ruoxue said speechlessly. She didn't think Chung Lan was someone who would force himself on others. Why was Chung Wu so frightened? Sigh. Miss, Chung Wu looked at Long Ruoxue with a bitter expression, feeling extremely aggrieved. Boo-hoo. He didn't want this to happen either. He had never met such a proactive woman in his life. It doesn't matter. Didn't Miss Chung say that she won't force you? What are you afraid of? Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. It doesn't feel good to be pestered. Chengwu whispered. Chengwu, I can't help you. Sigh. I can only say that you're too attractive to Miss Cheng. Lung Ruoxue sighed and said sympathetically, Miss, don't leave me alone. Chengwu was so anxious that he was about to cry. I'm not ignoring you. Didn't Miss Cheng promise not to force you? Besides, she wants to pursue you. If I forcefully stop her, won't Miss Cheng fly into a rage out of humiliation? That won't do you any good, right? Lung Ruoxue explained. But I don't want her chasing me, Takashi said quietly. That's not my decision. There's nothing wrong with loving someone. So, unless you kill her, you can't stop her from liking you. Lung Ruoxue comforted. Is there no way to make her give up on me? Chengwu couldn't help but ask. Chengwu, we can't help you with relationships. If you want her to give up, you can only work hard yourself. Running away won't solve the problem, Lung Ruoxue said. I know, but I'm really scared of her, Chengwu said fearfully. What are you afraid of her for? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. She wanted to ask this question just now, but it wasn't a good time. I don't know. I haven't been around many women, Takashi said grudgingly. Chapter 932. Chengwu, if you're afraid that she doesn't know anything, then I really can't help you. The only thing I can help you with now is to make her not force you to get married, Lung Ruoxue said. Miss, actually, I don't understand either. Why did Miss Cheng target me? I'm not especially handsome, Chengwu said in distress. Not all women like handsome men. Look, that Lu Xian isn't especially handsome either. Lung Ruoxue said with understanding. Chenglan was probably a woman who didn't like beautiful men. However, there were still quite a lot of fangirls in this world. Chengwu was speechless, because the more he thought about it, the more likely it was. Chengwu, running away won't solve the problem. As for Chenglan, you don't have to be afraid of her. Anyway, we're leaving tomorrow. Can she still follow us? Lung Ruoxue comforted. Well, my lady has a point. Chengwu nodded and relented. In fact, it seemed that no one wanted to leave in too much of a hurry, so he was alone and no one would take up his suggestion. Boo-hoo. Then let's enter the space and cultivate the divine skills. We'll leave here tomorrow morning, Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. The reason why she decided to leave tomorrow was because she wanted to finish cultivating the divine skill. Yes. Everyone nodded. Then, Lung Ruoxue thought of something and brought everyone into the bracelet. Then, everyone returned to their residences to cultivate their divine skills. Lung Ruoxue and the others went to cultivate their divine skills, while Empty and Lung Qinya sat on the stone chairs in front of the purple bamboo house to drink tea and chat. This is really a good place. Lung Qinya looked at the dense spiritual energy in the space inside. He still remembered the shock he felt when he first entered this place. At that time, he was like Grandma Lu who had entered a grand park. He was curious about everything. After a few days, his mood gradually calmed down. That's right. With such a space, their cultivation speed in the God realm will probably be far superior even to the disciples of the 8 great clans. Empty chuckled, but then he was depressed again. Alas. Unfortunately, his injuries had yet to recover. Otherwise, if he could cultivate here, he would be able to become a high-level god soon. Don't worry. When we find herbs that can treat your injuries and refine them into medicinal pills, you will be able to cultivate normally. Lung Qinya saw that Empty's expression had suddenly become downcast and guessed what he was thinking, so he comforted him. Yes, I'm not worried, Empty said with a light laugh. With Schwer, his injuries could be healed as long as he could find the herbs. The two of them continued to chat until dawn. Lung Ruoxue and the freak cultivated for a night. When she came out of the purple bamboo house, she saw that the two of them were still chatting. She couldn't help but say in surprise, "Did you guys talk all night?" "That's right," Lung Qinya said with a smile. "What are you talking about?" Lung Ruoxue was very curious. These two guys were quite talkative. "We were talking about you," About your achievements, Long Qinya said jokingly. I didn't do anything great. Long Ruoxue said embarrassedly with a few drops of cold sweat on her forehead. Why not? Even though you've only been in the boundless heaven continent for a few years, you've done a lot of things. Long Qinya teased in a good mood. Then continue chatting. Long Ruoxue was extremely embarrassed. With a thought, she fled with the freak. Haha. Long Qinya and Wu's laughter echoed in Long Ruoxue's mind. Shuer, why are you running away? After leaving the bracelet, the freak said speechlessly. I'm a little embarrassed. Long Ruoxue said in embarrassment. Hee. The freak chuckled happily. Such a Shuer was really rare. Don't laugh, Long Ruoxue said, pretending to be unhappy. Okay, I want. Freak coaxed, then stole a kiss from Shuer. But before he could make his next move, there was a knock on the door. Who is it? Freak snapped, annoyed at being interrupted when he wanted to do something. Lu Xian, the man outside the door said helplessly. In fact, he knew that he was a little early and that he had probably interrupted someone else's fun. Can I help you? Freak asked, opening the door to the room. I have something to discuss with Miss Long, Lu Xian said bluntly, seeing that she had no intention of letting him into the house. What is it? Freak asked. Can we talk inside? Lu Xian was a little embarrassed. Freak, let him in, Long Ruoxue said helplessly. She knew that this petty man, Freak, was vengeful towards Lu Xian, who asked Lu Xian to disturb what he wanted to do. Come in. The freak glared at Lu Xian. Thank you. Lu Xian felt helpless. However, he was the one who needed a favor, so he could only behave. Lu Xian walked into the room and greeted Long Ruoxue politely when he saw her. Good morning, Miss Long. Yes, hello. Why are you looking for me? Long Ruoxue asked directly. It's like this, Miss Long. Laner and Cheng Wu's wedding is in 3 days, so I want to beg you to let Cheng Wu and Laner have their wedding before leaving? Lu Xian asked with some difficulty. Do you know what you're saying? Miss Chang has already promised not to force Cheng Wu to do anything he doesn't like, Long Ruoxue reminded. I know. Laner doesn't know that I came here on my own. Lu Xian was afraid that Long Ruoxue would misunderstand Cheng Lan, so he quickly explained. Miss Long, due to Cheng Wu's departure, the wedding was supposed to be cancelled. However, because of this matter, not only was Laner blamed by the family, but she was also humiliated by the daughters of the Ning family and the Yao family. Therefore, I shamelessly came to ask you to fulfill my wish. Of course, the wedding would be fake. This is only for Laner's reputation, Lu Xian added. After saying that, he looked at Long Ruoxue nervously. After all, he had never done such an annoying thing, so he was a little uneasy and nervous. Chapter 933. Xian's Request 3. I can understand your feelings, but I can't help you with this. Long Ruoxue refused. Even though Cheng Wu was her subordinate, she couldn't make the decision for Cheng Wu. Of course, if Cheng Wu was willing, she wouldn't object. Miss Long, I know that my request is a little unreasonable, but I really have no choice. The two people from the Ning and Yao families have always been at odds with Laner. After Laner was humiliated by them yesterday, she actually cried in grievance. I've known Laner for more than 10 years, but I've never seen her cry. Actually, other than her liking Cheng Wu, some people in the family have also been pushing for this matter. After all, Cheng Wu and the others are too talented. So, Lu Xian continued, but he didn't finish his sentence. He believed that Long Ruoxue would understand what he meant. If it weren't for some people's enthusiasm, Laner wouldn't have wanted to marry Cheng Wu so quickly. Please believe me. Moreover, because of this matter, Laner's other 2 husbands were so angry that they ran away from home. Lu Xian continued. I'm sorry, I really can't help you, Long Ruoxue said apologetically. Then I'm sorry to disturb you, Lu Xian said in disappointment. He turned to leave. Wait, Long Ruoxue suddenly called out to Lu Xian. Miss Long, you. Lu Xian turned around and looked at Long Ruoxue, the surprise in his eyes flashing. If you want the wedding to continue, You can actually find anyone. You don't have to find Chengwu, Lung Ruoxue suggested. I understand, he said, and turned to leave. I've never seen such a man, the freak said after Lu Xian left. He lives for Qinglan, Lung Ruoxue said knowingly. In fact, she didn't think that Lu Xian wouldn't think of finding a random man to fake a marriage. He probably found Chengwu to try to make Qinglan happy. Swear, I live for you too, the freak said with infinite affection as he wrapped his arms around her waist. Yes, I know, Lung Ruoxue coaxed. The two of them were mushy when Chengwu and the other's voices suddenly sounded in Lung Ruoxue's heart. With a thought, she moved everyone out of the bracelet. Looking at the light bulbs that had suddenly appeared beside him, the freak was very unhappy. He looked at Schwer with some resentment, and his dark eyes were still flickering with tears. The meaning in his eyes was obvious. Why did you release these light bulbs? Chengwu, Lu Xian came just now and wants your help, the freak said before Schwer could speak. Yes, I heard that. Miss, let's leave quickly. Chengwu said fearfully. What he meant was that he couldn't help her. If he really helped her, he would probably never be able to get along with Qinglan. Besides, he didn't want Qinglan to like him, so he could only turn a blind eye. After all, he had never been a good person. Don't be afraid. I've already refused, Lung Ruoxue comforted. I have to be afraid. It's safest to leave this place. Okay, then let's leave after breakfast. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and said. Everyone nodded and left the room together for breakfast. When Lung Ruoxue and the others walked into the restaurant, there was almost no one inside. After they entered, there were few empty tables in the restaurant. As they were finishing their meal, they suddenly heard voices from the next table. Haha, I think Qinglan has nothing to be proud of now, a young woman said loudly. Yes, now she's a laughing stock, echoed the woman across from her. That bitch should be like this. This is all her retribution. Who asked her to marry so many men? Now she's finally kicked an iron plate. The woman who spoke first gloated, but the jealousy in her eyes was red and could not be concealed. That's right. How many women in the god realm would dare to be like her? Those men spoiled her too much. However, now that she's finally been dumped, it's really satisfying. Another woman added, her face also filled with jealousy. The two women who spoke were very young and beautiful. However, the words coming out of their mouths were not so pleasant. Moreover, their voices were very loud. So Lung Ruoxue and the others had no choice but to listen. Not only that, the two women became happier as they chatted and gossiped about Qinglan as if no one else was around. Damn it, are you done talking? Shut up. Chengwu couldn't stand it anymore. He stood up and shouted. Even though he didn't like Qinglan, he couldn't help but feel indignant for her because these two women's mouths were filled with filth. It was simply unbearable. How dare you talk to us like that? Do you know who we are? The two women immediately shouted when they heard Chengwu's roar. I don't care who you are. Damn it. Your mouths are too filthy. You've polluted my ears, Chengwu said in disdain. Sigh. It was really infuriating to compare oneself to others. Even though he didn't like Qinglan, he now felt that Qinglan was 100 times better than these two women. How dare you call our mouths filthy? Do you want to die? The two women glared and shouted at the top of their lungs. That's the case, Chengwu said with disgust, not even looking at them. Damn it, I'm going to kill you. A woman roared and attacked. Several blue lights flew towards Chengwu. Chengwu gently blocked the woman's attack with his hand and immediately counterattacked. Seeing Chengwu and the two women fighting, Fengde and the others quickly hid in a safe place to avoid being implicated in watching the battle. You disloyal people. Chengwu was furious when he saw that Fengde and the others had actually avoided him. None of them had any intention of helping. Even though he did not take these two women seriously, they had to at least share his burden. Chapter 934. Shin's Request 4. Hee hee, Brother Chung, all the best. Song Di cheered. Brother Chung, We've given you the chance to perform. Don't disappoint us. Feng De teased. What nonsense are you talking about? I didn't want to show off. Chang Wu quickly retorted, but he muttered in his heart. It was obvious that these two women attacked first. He was just defending himself. Hee, it's all the same. Anyway, just deal with this matter, Feng De said with a smile, as if it had nothing to do with him. Chang Wu was so angry that he was speechless. He could only vent his anger on these two unlucky women. Immediately, the attack in his hand increased. Countless divine skills smashed towards the two women like water. In an instant, the two beautiful women were stunned. Their faces were bruised and their clothes were tattered. Just you wait. Our Ning family won't let you off. Just you wait. Our Yao family will not let you off. The two women spoke in unison and fainted. The Nings? The Yao family? Feng De and Song Di looked at each other. Then, at the same time, they looked at Chang Wu. Their faces clearly said, "You're finished. What are you waiting for? Aren't you going to leave and wait for someone to catch you?" Long Ruoxue spoke before Chang Wu could say anything. Oh, let's escape while no one is around," Feng De hurriedly said. However, just as everyone was about to leave the crime scene, the shopkeeper of the inn walked in with the waiter. Oh my God, what happened? The shopkeeper looked at the mess in the restaurant and wanted to cry. Most of the tables and chairs in the dining room were broken. Not only that, but the two women he didn't even want to mess with were lying on the floor, bruised and battered, as if they had just been beaten up. Boo-hoo, what was going on? If he had known this was going to happen, he wouldn't have left the dining room. But it was too late now. After Long Ruoxue and the others heard the shopkeeper's words, they ignored him and continued to walk out. However, how could the shopkeeper let go of these people who might be the murderer? He took a step forward and stood in front of everyone, saying as if he was facing death, "Can any of you tell me what exactly is going on?" "We don't know." Long Ruoxue played dumb. "Oh, sorry, they already had a lot of enemies, so they could only pretend to know nothing. How can you not know? Aren't you always here?" The shopkeeper was a little angry. He composed himself before saying anything. "We were too busy eating to notice anything else," Long Ruoxue said innocently. "How can you eat when these tables and chairs are shattered?" the shopkeeper asked, his chest heaving with anger. "It broke when we were almost done eating," Long Ruoxue explained. "Then what's going on with Miss Ning and Miss Yao?" The shopkeeper kept telling himself to be calm and ask calmly, but he almost vomited blood when he saw Long Ruoxue and the others in different expressions. "Shopkeeper, we don't know them, so I'm afraid we can't answer your question. Why don't you ask them when they wake up?" Long Ruoxue reminded with a smile, her beautiful face full of innocence. "We'll take our leave. This is the room fee for the past few days," Long Ruoxue said again. With that, she took out several crystals and then patted her, but before leading everyone past the shopkeeper and leaving the inn. "Go and inform the family head that something has happened to the guest shop." The shopkeeper did not dare to stop Long Ruoxue and the others, so he could only order the waiter to look for the family head. After all, this guest shop was owned by the Chung family. If something happened to the daughters of the Ning and Yao families here, he could not bear the responsibility alone. "Yes," the waiter said quickly. Then he turned and left. The shopkeeper also left the restaurant, but no one was willing to care about the two daughters of the aristocratic families lying on the ground. At this moment, Long Ruoxue and the others had long sat on the back of the little peacock and flew out of the Chung family's divine realm. On the way, Chang Wu kept stealing glances at Long Ruoxue anxiously, blaming himself. Boo-hoo. He had caused trouble for Miss again. He really didn't do it on purpose. "Chang Wu, my man will be angry if you peek at me." Long Ruoxue couldn't help teasing Cheng Wu when she saw that he wanted to say but didn't dare to. "Miss, I'm sorry. I caused trouble again," Cheng Wu said guiltily. Their current strength was still inferior to the 8 great clans, but now they had even provoked the Ning family, the head of the 8 great clans. "Boo-hoo. What's the point of thinking about this now?" Long Ruoxue comforted. "Cheng Wu, I just realized today that your ability to cause trouble is above Little Schwer's. Little Schwer only provoked the one family, but you provoked 3 families. Oh, even the top 3 families of the 8 great families were provoked by you. Lung Qinya couldn't help but tease. I didn't mean to do it. I don't know, Chengwu said without much conviction. You've already provoked them. Don't think about it anymore. They'll still say the same thing. Since we're here, we'll take things as they come. We'll deal with whatever comes, Lung Ruoxue said calmly. Will there be any trouble at the inn if we leave like this, my lady? Lu Tao asked. She couldn't bear the thought. After all, they were the ones who had started this. Chapter 935. The Ascender Alliance. 1. That guest shop belongs to the Qing family. Even if it's a little troublesome, I believe the Qing family can handle it, Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. After all, Cheng Lan had forced Qing Wu and the others to stay for a period of time, so this was considered compensation. Even though she had a good impression of Qing Lan, it didn't mean that she wouldn't blame Qing Lan for her actions. Sigh. Who asked her to be protective? That's right. Who is our brother Cheng doing this for? He just wants to seek justice for Miss Cheng. It's only right for the Cheng family to clean up after us. Feng De said disapprovingly. The Cheng family was the cause of this matter. Therefore, not to mention that he had no sympathy, he felt that Cheng Lan deserved to be humiliated by those 2 women. To put it bluntly, he also blamed Cheng Lan for forcing Cheng Wu and the others to stay. I wonder if Miss Cheng will be even more determined after knowing about Brother Cheng's protection? Song Di guessed curiously. After all, women were easily touched. Of course, Cheng Wu is the man he loves, and he offended the Ning family and the Yao family to protect her. If she's not touched, even I will despise her, Lin Yuan interrupted. Then what should I do? I don't want her to be touched. Boo-hoo. After hearing what Lin Yuan and the others said, Cheng Wu regretted it. What if Cheng Lan became more interested in him because of this? He really wasn't interested in Cheng Lan. It's too late to be afraid now. What were you doing just now? Sigh. Just wait for Miss Cheng to chase after her husband for thousands of miles. Lung Qinya interrupted, wishing for the world to be in chaos. However, he couldn't help but secretly laugh in his heart. Even though what they said was not impossible, Cheng Wu didn't have to be so afraid, right? Moreover, the more they saw him afraid, the more they couldn't help but want to tease him. Miss, you have to help me, Cheng Wu said with tears in his eyes. How do you want me to help you? Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. Sigh. It was really indescribable to see a rough man like Cheng Wu acting cute in front of her. Don't let her know I did this, okay? Cheng Wu pleaded quietly. Even if we don't say it, do you think Miss Cheng won't think of you? Besides, the 2 women from the Ning family and the Yao family might not keep their mouths shut, Lung Ruoxue analyzed. They were together with Cheng Wu, so even if this matter had nothing to do with Cheng Wu, they would probably think that it was because of Cheng Wu that they would help her. Otherwise, who would help a stranger for no reason? It was not easy to be a savior, especially in the God realm. If they were not careful, they would get themselves killed. Then what should we do? Miss, Cheng Wu looked at Lung Ruoxue bitterly, at a loss. All right, stop acting cute. I'm afraid of you. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. Why did the people and beasts around her like to use this move? Sigh. She couldn't help but think to herself, Miss, you will help me. Cheng Wu immediately said with a smile. I definitely won't reveal that you did what happened in the guest shop, but I can't guarantee anyone else. Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly. Yes, thank you, Mississippi. Naratake was very happy. With Miss Assurance, he was relieved. Brother Chung, don't be happy too early. Miss said that she won't leak this matter. Have you forgotten about us? Well, if you don't coax us, I might say that we're showing off when Miss Chung finds us one day. Feng De said with a smile. You. How dare you disobey Miss? Miss said that she would keep it a secret. Aren't you her subordinate? Cheng Wu was furious. He couldn't help but roar. Miss didn't say that we have to keep it a secret, right? Feng De turned to ask Lin Yuan. Yes. Lin Yuan nodded cooperatively. Miss, Chung Wu was angered by the two of them and turned to Long Ruoxue for support. However, Long Ruoxue deliberately turned her head to the side, as if she didn't see his pitiful gaze. "Miss," Chung Wu called out, unwilling to give up. Boo-hoo. If Miss did not help him, he would definitely be teased by these ruthless fellows. "Brother Chung, how do you plan to please us?" Fengde asked with a chuckle. It was quite boring flying in the sky. Now, with Brother Chung to relieve their boredom, "Can I be your slave?" Chung Wu said helplessly. His resentful gaze kept drifting towards Long Ruoxue, but she ignored him. "No." Fengde refused without thinking. Sigh. Why did he need cows and horses? He did not farm. Then what do you want? Chung Wu gritted his teeth. He was going all out. "Brother Chung, don't look at me with gritted teeth. I'm so afraid." Even though Fengde said he was afraid, there was no fear on his face. "What do you want? Tell me." Chung Wu said hatefully. If looks could kill, Fengde would have died tens of millions of times. "I don't want to do anything. I'm just a little bored now." Fengde smiled evilly. "I've already been bullied by you to this extent, and you're still bored?" Chung Wu looked at Fengde as if he was looking at a monster and said in disbelief, "Boo-hoo. Is there any justice in this world? How can you bully me like this? I was bored at first, but after bullying you, I'm not so bored anymore," Fengde said honestly. "Then if I let you bully me, and I don't fight back or scold you, can you keep it a secret for me?" Chung Wu asked resolutely. "If you perform well, there's no problem keeping it a secret." Seeing that his goal had been achieved, Fengde knew when to stop. Well, they were all partners, so he couldn't joke too much. "Then come and bully me," Chung Wu said impatiently. The sooner he finished bullying them, the sooner he would be free. Then he wouldn't have to be on tenterhooks. Brother Chung, why are you so anxious?" "Besides, it feels strange to hear this from a man like you," Fengde said with goosebumps all over his body. He couldn't help but wonder if Brother Chung was agitated by them. Chapter 936, The Ascender Alliance 2. Of course I'm anxious. Hurry up. Chung Wu wanted to be bullied by them quickly, so he didn't have to worry. "Brother Chung, Fengde was joking with you. How could we betray you?" Songdi couldn't stand it anymore and couldn't help but say, "I know. I've caused trouble for everyone. If you don't let me do something, they'll feel guilty," Chung Wu said in embarrassment. In fact, he knew that Fengde was just teasing him. However, if he didn't cooperate, he would feel guilty. His acting skills were not bad. "Brother Chung, I'm very satisfied with your cooperation." Don't worry, we're all good brothers. I won't really push you into a fire pit," Fengde said seriously and stopped joking. Yes, we can joke around when there are no outsiders, but you can't say that in front of outsiders. Otherwise, it won't be good if others misunderstand," Chung Wu reminded worriedly. The outsider he was referring to was naturally Chung Lan. "Brother Chung, we're not ignorant people. Don't worry." Fengde comforted him. "I know." Takashi nodded, reassured. They all smiled at each other. "Schwer, where are we going?" Lung Qinya couldn't help but ask curiously after watching the show. "Ascender Alliance," Lung Ruoxue said softly, but Lung Qinya was shocked. "Why are we going there? Grandpa told us not to go. How dare you be disobedient?" Lung Qinya glared and said angrily, "Before coming to the Cheng family's divine realm, He received a voice transmission from his grandfather and told him that he was fine. It was just that someone wanted his grandfather to help refine weapons, so his grandfather stayed there. Later, he finally found out his grandfather's location. However, his grandfather reminded him very carefully that he didn't have to come over and could go do whatever he wanted. Grandpa was presently in the Ascender Alliance, but he did not know which alliance it was. In addition, he knew that his grandfather did not want him to go because he was afraid that the alliance would make things difficult for him. After all, they were traitors who had withdrawn from the alliance. However, his grandfather's status as an artificer was useful to them. In addition, his grandfather had a master who was the vice president of the Artificer Association headquarters. Therefore, the alliance did not dare to do anything to his grandfather. However, he did not care so much about him. After all, people died every day in the God realm. Even if he died, Grandpa would be helpless if he did not know who his enemy was. Can you really be at ease if I don't go and take a look? Lung Ruoxue asked. Even though Lung Qinya had never shown his worry, she could tell that he was very worried about that cheap sake old ancestor. Even though he said that his ancestor was fine, he probably wouldn't be at ease until he saw him. Fine, they'll go. Who's afraid of who? Lung Qinya made up his mind. In fact, his heart was still trembling. After all, he did not dare to disobey his grandfather's words. Therefore, he did not dare to go even if he wanted to. However, this little girl was not as timid as him. In fact, little Schwer was not afraid of his grandfather at all. Therefore, he thought about it and went with the flow. I know what you're worried about. Don't worry, if the ancestor blames you, they'll put in a good word for you. Lung Ruoxue promised with a smile. You said it yourself. Don't push the blame to me when the time comes. Grandpa is very scary when he gets angry, Lung Qinya said with a face full of fear. Am I that kind of person? Don't worry, I'm very loyal. If our ancestor blames us, we can just say that we came to the wrong place and don't know that it's the territory of Ascenders. Lung Ruoxue said with a wicked smile. Are you lying to a 3-year-old child? Or do you think Grandpa will believe you? Lung Qinya said speechlessly. He really had to hand it to this girl. If Grandpa really believed her nonsense, then Grandpa must have been switched. How do you know he won't believe you if you haven't tried? Lung Ruoxue asked. Lung Qinya was at a loss for words. Then give it a try. After a pause, Lung Qinya said helplessly. Yes, try it when you have the chance. Lung Ruoxue chuckled, then leaned against the freak and closed her eyes to sleep. After flying for nearly 10 days, the little peacock finally arrived at the territory of the Ascender. Master, we're here. The little peacock reminded everyone after stopping above the Ascender's sphere of influence. Okay, land. Lung Ruoxue instructed. According to the rules of the God realm, flying into the city was not allowed. That would be regarded as an enemy, so they could only walk into the city. In fact, when they were in the Boundless Heaven continent, they also walked into the city. Even though the rules on the Boundless Heaven continent were not as strict as in the God realm, walking into the city was a manifestation of respect for a certain city. In addition, they had to pay an entrance fee to enter the city. This was the most important thing. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the little peacock landed closest to the city gate. Lung Ruoxue and the others walked straight in after paying the entrance fee. Apart from the main alliance, the Divine Realms Ascender Alliance was divided into 5 subleagues. Each alliance had a leader, and their sphere of influence on the Divine Continent was southwest of the continent. Even though their position there was not as good as the place occupied by the 8 great clans, it was still quite good on the Divine Continent. The people in charge of the Ascender Alliance in the Divine Continent basically belonged to the 5 alliances. They were also considered the representatives of the 5 alliances here and were in charge of recruiting talents for the 5 alliances. After all, the competition between the 5 alliances was very intense. Which alliance does this place belong to? Long Ruoshua couldn't help but ask curiously as she walked on the streets of the city. Oh, this place felt very desolate. Logically speaking, one of the places where organizations that could compete with the natives shouldn't be like this, right? This is the territory of the 5 alliances. The 5 alliances in the Ascender Alliance are the weakest, so the city they live in is also the smallest. However, the alliance undergoes an evaluation every 100 years, so their positions will probably change at that time. Therefore, no matter who temporarily holds the 5th position, no one here is willing to manage it well. Seeing Long Ruoshua frown, Long Chinya guessed what this girl was thinking and explained. Chapter 937. The Ascender Alliance 3. You don't even develop the place you live in well. It can be seen how chaotic the Ascender Alliance is, Long Ruoshua said with slight disdain. It seemed that those people in the Ascender Alliance were more selfish than she thought. She did not have a good impression of the Ascender Alliance because of Long Chinya. Now that she saw such a city, her impression of the Ascender Alliance became even worse. That can't be helped. The Ascender Alliance isn't united. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been suppressed by the natives all this time. Lung Chinya said in understanding. When he and his grandfather first joined the Ascender Alliance, they were full of enthusiasm. However, they were gradually worn down by the lifeless atmosphere in the Alliance. Later, he was bullied again, so he and his grandfather left the Alliance in a fit of anger. This also caused some people in the Alliance to be dissatisfied. Do you have any close acquaintances in the Alliance? Lung Ruoshua asked after some thought. 1 or 2. I just don't know if they're still around, Lung Chinya said with uncertainty. Which alliance are they in? Lung Ruoshua asked again. Right now, I don't know which alliance they're in. Wait for me to contact them, Lung Chinya said uncertainly. 100 years was nothing to the people of the God realm. Furthermore, both his grandfather and him had returned to the boundless heaven continent for a long time. Therefore, the alliance they had originally joined was now in an unknown position. After saying that, Lung Chinya took out his voice transmission jade token and contacted. Little Schwer, they're in the 2nd alliance now, Lung Chinya said after contacting her. Just ask them about the cheap sake old ancestor. Lung Ruoshua reminded. The voice transmission jade token communicated with one's mind, so outsiders couldn't hear the voice transmission at all. Okay, Lung Chinya replied before continuing the connection. Not long after, Lung Chinya stopped transmitting his voice and had a solemn expression. What's wrong? Lung Ruoshua asked curiously. They don't know where Grandpa is either. However, someone told me that the Alliance Master of the 1st Alliance seems to want to refine an equipment, so I guess Grandpa should be in the 1st Alliance, Lung Chinya explained. Oh, then let's go to the 1st Alliance. Lung Ruoshua nodded. Little Schwer, you can't go to the 1st Alliance. Lung Chinya stopped her. Why? Lung Ruoshua asked with a faint smile. The people of the 1st Alliance are very bad. They always like to bully others. I was bullied by them back then, Lung Chinya said awkwardly. Even though the 5th Alliance of the Divine Continent was only a branch of the Divine Realm's Ascender Alliance, its power was still the strongest among all the branches. Bullied? Who? They'll help you bully them back. Long Ruashua looked at Long Qinya with her beautiful eyes and said disapprovingly, even though she never took the initiative to bully others, those who bullied her would not have it easy either. Well, those who bullied her family and subordinates would not have it easy either. He's the son of the Alliance Master here, Long Qinya said helplessly. Sigh. Little Schwer's gaze made him feel like crying. It's okay. We'll find a chance to let you vent your anger. Oh, eat this. Long Ruashua thought for a moment and handed Long Qinya a disguise pill. What is this? Long Qinya looked at the small pill and asked curiously. Appearance-changing pill. If you want to bully others, of course you can't be recognized. Long Ruashua smiled evilly, her beautiful eyes filled with schemes. Hee. Since her cheap sake old ancestor might be in the First Alliance, and Long Qinya had been bullied by the First Alliance, she naturally wouldn't let them off too easily. Schwer, the First Alliance under the Alliance headquarters, is very strong. They have been in the position of the First Alliance for many years, and the Alliance Master here is said to be the relative of the Alliance Master at the headquarters, Long Qinya quickly said. Even though he was very touched that little Schwer wanted to stand up for him, he could not let her take the risk for him. So what if they have nepotism? I won't let them know who did it. Don't worry. Long Ruashua chuckled. There were many tricks up their sleeves. Who would be stupid enough to expose themselves? All right then. However, we have to be careful, Long Qinya reminded. They had already provoked enough people. If they provoked the Ascender Alliance again, they would not be able to survive on the God's continent. They would probably be hunted down by countless people wherever they went. Yes, bring us to the First Alliance quickly, Long Ruashua urged. This way. There's a teleportation array there. Long Qinya pointed at a fork in the road. Okay. Long Ruashua nodded. Then, everyone followed Long Qinya towards the fork road. Not long after, with a flash of white light, Long Ruashua and the others arrived at the First Alliance. The Ascender Alliance here was composed of a total of 5 cities. Each alliance occupied one city, and the city where the First Alliance was the largest and most luxurious. However, what amused Long Ruashua was that the Ascender Alliance was too lazy, right? The city they were in didn't even have a name. There was only a so-and-so alliance written outside the city gate. However, it was quite convenient to go from the Fifth Alliance to the First Alliance. With just a few crystals, they could use the teleportation array to reach the alliance he wanted to go to. Looking at the luxurious scene in First Alliance, Long Ruashua couldn't help but praise. This place really looked like a prosperous city. Even though she didn't have a good impression of the Ascender Alliance, she had to admit that First Alliance's base was very good. Schwer, let's find a guest shop to stay temporarily before asking about the cheap sake old ancestor. The freak suggested. Okay. Long Ruashua nodded. They really had to find a place to settle down first. After all, they didn't know when they could find that cheap ancestor. Then, Long Ruashua and the others found a home-style restaurant in the city to stay temporarily. Little Schwer, am going out to inquire about the situation. Wait for me in the guest shop, Long Qinya said to everyone in the room. Let's go with you. Long Ruashua said after some thought. No need. He'll be back soon, Long Qinya said. He just wanted to see if he could find someone he knew and ask about the situation here. Okay. Long Ruashua nodded in agreement. Then, Long Qinya left the room. Chapter 938. The Ascender Alliance 4. Miss, what are we doing? Fengde couldn't help but ask after Long Qinya left. Follow him from behind. Unless someone provokes him, don't let him discover you, Long Ruoxue instructed. She was a little worried about Long Qinya going out alone. After all, he had an unpleasant experience here. It would be terrible if he met the person who had bullied him before. In fact, it was just as Long Ruoxue thought. Not long after Long Qinya left the inn, he bumped into someone on the street. All right, don't worry, Mississippi. We won't let him find out, Fengde and the others promised. After saying that, they immediately left the guest shop. On the street, Long Qinya was asking passers-by about the whereabouts of a friend he once knew. However, just as he asked a few questions, he saw a greasy-haired man swaggering towards him from the corner of his eye. The man was none other than the person who had bullied him back then. Long Qinya had already eaten the appearance-changing pill that little Schwer had given him, so he was not afraid that that person would recognize him. Moreover, he did not want to get into a conflict with that person before he found his grandfather's whereabouts. Therefore, he took the initiative to give way. Unfortunately, someone did not appreciate his kindness and insisted on going past where he was standing. Where did this ugly freak come from? How dare you block my path? Do you want to die? The man said unhappily. For some reason, he didn't like this ugly freak, so he deliberately came over to find trouble. Sir, you were the one who chose to walk this way instead of such a spacious path. Long Qinya looked at the smug man standing in front of him and couldn't help but roll his eyes. He said with slight disdain, "Sigh. It's been so many years since we last met, but this Yuan Ho still hasn't improved. I really can't understand how I was bullied by this thing back then. How do you talk back to me? I think you really don't want to live anymore." Yuan Ho was furious. He had been in the First Alliance for many years, but no one had ever dared to speak to him like this, except for that brat from a long time ago. However, wasn't that fellow afraid of him after being beaten up by him? Who said I don't want to live? I haven't lived enough. Long Qinya sneered. Humph. He really wanted to beat Yuan Ho up if it weren't for his identity. Then how dare you talk back to me? Do you know my identity? Yuan Ho glared and questioned. Who doesn't know you on the divine continent? Long Qinya said with a faint smile, but his eyes flickered with mockery. You still dare to go against me? Humph. Ugly freak, you must have done it on purpose, Yuan Ho said with certainty. Since you're already certain that I did it on purpose, why waste your breath on me? Long Qinya said impatiently. The way he looked at the original owner was as annoying as looking at a buzzing fly. You're right. Guards, capture him. I want to teach this ugly monster a lesson myself, Yuan Ho ordered with an imposing manner. You want to gang up on me? Long Qinya asked curiously. Even though he was a little wary of this monkey's identity, he was no longer a rookie who had just entered the divine continent many years ago. Moreover, this monkey's subordinates were not very strong, so he was not afraid of dealing with these little monkeys. Well, since he could not touch that big ape, he would deal with these little monkeys first. Haha, you guessed it. Yuan Ho laughed wildly in triumph. A group fight? We love it. Suddenly, Fengde's voice sounded in everyone's ears. At the same time, the original Marquis and his subordinates were surrounded by a group of equally ugly and aggressive men. When Long Qinya heard Fengde's voice, his heart warmed. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It was good to be on his side. However, when Yuan Ho saw Fengde and the others, his expression did not look so good. This was because Fengde and the others were at least twice as many as him. Moreover, all of them were tall and burly. Just from their auras, they were not something his subordinates could compare to. Sigh. What should he do? At this moment, even if he was stupid, he could tell that they were in cahoots. To think that he had thought that the ugly freak was alone. However, he thought about it again. This was his territory, So why should he be afraid? Therefore, after thinking about it, his aura returned. How dare you? Do you have any idea who you're talking to? Yuan Ho roared. We're not talking to you. We're just asking if it's a gang fight. Feng De asked with a smile. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. Damn, don't this pretty boy understand human language? So what if we are? If we want to fight, we're not fighting with you. The person we're looking for is him. Yuan Ho pointed at Lung Qinya. We're together. If you are fighting him, you're fighting us. Feng De reminded him. How can that be? Yuan Ho was even angrier when he heard that. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.